Hey guys, welcome to Green Bean Fiction. So in today's video we are gonna see, what if Deku rose against a woman-dominated world? This story is Ouroboros by Blazet19. Before starting, make sure to hit that like button, as your one like motivates me to bring more stories, and subscribe the channel if you are new so you won't miss our latest videos. History. Over 200 years ago a supposed genetic miracle happened. The female gender started to develop these strange and powerful abilities that became known as quirks. At first there were just a few scattered across the world, but over the course of a few decades the majority of women possessed quirks. It got to the point where 98% of women developed a quirk around the age of 4. With this drastic change for women came an equally drastic change for men. At first nothing much changed for the male population, but as the female quirk population grew along with more powerful quirks appearing, a major shift in society happened. Starting off with men losing just being seen as weaker to outright being seen as lower-class citizens. Men lost many rights and are used as basically slaves. Women hold all government positions as well as have rights that are very biased towards them. For example, the women hold full custody rights over children, so a lot of men are just used for breeding and have been forced away for their children, or that men have to obey what women say, as if they don't then the women can freely use their powers to abuse them. Women took all the highest paying jobs such as doctors, teachers, lawyers, etc. There was even a new profession known as heroes that consisted of only women because of their quirks. This story starts with the birth of twins. One boy and one girl known as Izuku and Izumi Yagi. Though they're considered twins only because they were born on the same day. In reality the children have different mothers and are only related by the father, who was denied access to the children. This happens a lot. A lesbian couple uses a man to get children and then completely cut him out. The parents of the twins are known as Toshina Yagi, who is the mother of Izumi, and Inko Yagi, the mother of Izuku. The twins were originally very close, but that changed when Izumi manifested her quirk. End of history. Third POV. We see a young 4-year-old boy sitting on the couch waiting for his mother and sister to come home. His sister, Izumi, was finding out her quirk today and he was happy for her. The boy known as Izuku cared for his sister at the time very much and was reassuring her before she left for the doctor's office. He told her that she could become a fantastic hero no matter what quirk she got. Izumi was also the only one that believed that he could become the first male hero. At this time Izuku did not know how messed up the world was and how messed up his life was going to become. Izuku waited patiently for hours until he finally heard the door open well past nighttime. He ran up to his Izumi to ask about her quirk. "Hey sis, what kind of a quirk did you get?" Izuku asked. "A stronger version of Mommy Inko's quirk, electro-telekinesis. The doctor said I was very lucky to get such a quirk. Then she gave me a lollipop," Izumi answered ecstatically. "That's so cool. Now we can both become heroes. Right, Izumi? Quote. Sis. Hello, are you there?" Yeah, I am here and that's alright," Izumi said, looking kind of down, and before Izuku could ask why, she excused herself to her room. Next day is school. Izumi POV. I was at school talking with my friends Katsuki Bakugo and Shoka Todoroki. Izuku was off drawing a hero costume for himself. I felt so worried for him. He's a boy, so he is weak. If he tries to become a hero then he will surely get hurt, or even worse, he could die. As I was lost in thought someone yelled at me, making me jump in surprise. "Izumi ei!" Katsuki screamed at the top of her lungs. "Wha? Oh yeah," I answered, blinking rapidly. "Is something wrong? You have been spacing out all day," Shoka asked. "I'm sorry girls. It's just I'm so worried about him and want him to be safe," I answer, and they inquired on who. "Izuku. He wants to pursue his dream in becoming a hero. The first male hero," I said. "That's stupid. He's a man. They are the weaker gender," Katsuki said. "I know, and that's why I am worried. I am afraid that he'll get hurt. In the worst case scenario he could die," I said as I started tearing up. "I am also worried about my Izu," Shoka said with a blush. "Katsuki and I knew she had a crush on my brother. Why don't we just beat him up until he realizes that he's the inferior gender and stops wanting to be a hero?" Katsuki suggested. When she suggested that, my first thought was that it was crazy, but the more I thought about it the more it seemed like it was the only way that would make him understand. Do you really think that's the best option? I mean, I do not want to hurt him, he is still my brother. I asked. Yes, and you know your brother is very stubborn, so he will have to learn the hard way on how inferior he and his kind actually are. Katsuki stated. What do you think, Shoka? I agree with Katsuki. It may not be pleasant, but this is the only way to protect him. She answered, and that sold me on the idea. Yes, I am going to protect him from himself. We started heading towards Izuku. Izuku Pa. I was working on the design on my future hero costume when my sister and friends came over. I was so excited and happy for them as they all got great quirks. Izuku, do you still want to become a hero? Izumi asked. Of course, it is my crash. I started to answer only to receive a punch from my sister powered by her quirk. You are too weak to become a hero. Izumi said. Yeah, you are just a weak, useless man. A pathetic Deku. Katsuki mocked as sparks started building up in her hand. They are correct. You should listen to your betters and quit the stupid dream of yours. Shoka joined in with a cold voice. They started to beat me up in the classroom. The other children were too afraid to help me, and when I looked at all the teachers they seemed disinterested. While I was being beaten and tortured, the teachers didn't seem to care. I would call for help, but all they would do is glance at me with disgust. The beating continued until the start of the next class, and I was just left lying on the ground as no one came to help. As soon as school ended, I started to run home. As I was running, my whole body hurt and I was crying. When I made it home, my mothers asked what was wrong, and I explained what Izumi and the others did. What happened next was something I never expected. They told me that the girls were just horse playing and that I should get over it. They did not even look over my wounds. Over the years it dawned on me how disgusting the world was in actuality. The beatings consisted every day, to the point where at some points my bones would be broken. No one cared though, as I was just another weak male. My mother eventually stopped cooking for me or doing laundry or anything for me really, as they focused on my sister. I became a slave in my own house, as I was instructed to clean the house and after my sister, no matter what my physical condition was during the time. I waited on her, cleaned after her, hell, he even had me do her homework at some points. If I refused to do anything, my mothers would lock me in my room or have my sister punish me. It was not any better outside of home either. Everyone hated me because I dared to have a dream as a male. School sucked, as no matter how good I actually did, the school would always make sure the female students were always at the top in the academics. The other male students would avoid me because of me being the brother of Izumi, the strongest in the school. If anyone tried to befriend me, my sister would beat them up too, so I steered clear of everyone, as I did not want anyone to get hurt because of me. It also did not take long for me to realize that men in this society were lucky to just get a somewhat decent job. For the most part they would be grunt workers like cashiers or mainly in the service industry. I also realized that even women were suffering, as those with quirks that were deemed weak or villainous were also abused because of it. This society is rotten to the point where it makes me sick. Even though my life sucked, I knew there were other men that had it even worse, and that pissed me off. At least there were some moments when I had peace. Whenever I was alone I felt free and could disconnect from this ruined world. Not only that, there were still a few people in this cruel world that were kind to me. Two of those people were, funny enough, the parents of one of my biggest tortures. They were Mitsuki and Masaru Bakugo. Mitsuki was one of the rare women that married and loved the father of her child. It was a relationship full of love and respect for each other. Similar to her daughter, Mitsuki was loud and confident, but unlike her daughter, she was still kind and saw men on equal ground. She knew about my trouble, and though she could not directly help me, whenever me and Izumi stayed over, she would make sure Katsuki and the others were always too busy to abuse me. Masaru was a timid man, no doubt due to this society, but he was also kind and would help me whenever I needed it. The Bakugo parents were more of a family to me than my own. Mitsuki and Masaru also constantly apologized to me for their daughter's cruel acts. I doubt I will ever forgive Katsuki. There was also my school's former computer science teacher, Ms. Sakura. She was the only teacher that graded both male and female students equally. Ms. Sakura even counseled the male students who asked for help, which most frequently included me. Sadly, she was fired after refusing to change the class grades to favor the female students. Some of the female students, Izumi included, also pushed constant false complaints against her. I made sure to say my goodbyes to her. Currently I am 13 years old sitting in class. The teacher was talking about career goals and to see if our goals will change from now till the end of middle school. So here are your career goals. Remember to think carefully on what you want to be, as you will be taking your entrance exams in just about 2 years, though I can guess what all the lovely ladies in this class want to be. The teacher said, "Heroes. We are going to be heroes." All the female students yelled, "Hey, don't lump me, Izumi, and Shoka in with the rest of these whores, teach. We are legit and are heading straight to the top. These bitches would be lucky to become a sidekick to some D-list hero." Katsuki stated and got glares from the other female students. "Ah yes, you three plan on applying to UA when you finish middle school. Also, if I am not mistaken, Izumi's brother Izuku also plans on applying to UA to become a hero as well." The teacher said with a smirk. "That bitch always hated me because I dared to be something higher than what she thought I should be." All the girls in class burst into laughter while the boys stayed silent and looked down. I don't blame them though, as if they tried to defend or support me then they would be beaten as well. Next thing I know, a fist came and punched me out of my seat and across the room. I look up and see my sister. "You moronic idiot, you can't be a hero. Get that through your thick skull," she said as she looked pissed off. "Yeah, you useless Deku. You are just a pathetic boy," Katsuki yelled, stated. Shoka just gave me a cold glare. "Alright, settle down everyone. Izuku gets back into your seat or you will be punished. You all can finish this business after class," the teacher said. After class 1 started packing up when I was pushed back. I looked up and saw Izumi, Katsuki, and Shoka. They told me to follow them up to the roof to talk in private. I did, as I would just receive a worse beating if I refused. Once up there it proceeded as I thought. They beat me for a bit before stopping and begging to speak to me. "Can't you see just how weak you are, brother? You will be of no help to the heroes," Izumi stated. "Izuku, you need to know that you're just a man. All you could ever do is hinder actual heroes," Shoto said. "Do you really want to be a hero, Deku?" Katsuki asked. Both Izumi and Shoto had looked at her with shocked faces, but I knew better. I knew this was a trap, but still decided the safe bet was to answer. "Yes, I do," I said. "Then I'll tell you how. Take a swan dive off a roof and hope to be born the superior gender in your next life," Katsuki stated, and my whole world just stopped. Death? Maybe it would be better. I just stood there in silence for a bit before walking to the door and leaving. They didn't stop me because they had already finished their beating for today. Izumi Pav. I was watching Izuku leave as I was left in shock from what Katsuki said. The whole point of doing this was to stop my brother from getting hurt. Damn it, Katsuki, that was too harsh. What if he actually does it? We might actually need to apologize for that. I scolded her. Yes, I agree with Izumi. Too far. You should not have said that, Shoka said. Take a chill pill, damn. The loser is too chicken to ever try. So relax. I seriously doubt he had the guts to even attempt anything like that. Hell, if he ever came across a villain he would probably just piss himself and run like the weak coward he is. Also, I will never apologize to that weakling or any weak man at that. She replied. Well, on brighter news, I finally got my mother to agree with your mothers to arrange a marriage between me and Izu. I will make sure we live a happy life together as he will be all mine, Shoka said with a blush. That is great. Once he is married to you, you can protect him all his life. I will tell him the great news when I get home. I'm sure he will be happy to be yours, I stated. Thanks. I know he will too since we are his only friends, Shoka said excitedly. Anyway guys, let's get going. I wanna head to the arcade before we all need to head home, Katsuki said, and we all left. Izuku Pav. As I was walking, I was thinking back to what Katsuki said. Suicide had definitely been a thought in my mind before. For me, I was keeping stable by putting cuts on my wrists. I used thick wristbands to hide the scar. For some reason I felt at peace as I watched blood pour out of my wrist, leaving a cold and tingling sensation in my body. Self-harm and suicide was a huge problem with the male population nowadays. Hell, a couple students in our school attempted suicide and one even succeeded. Yet, no one nor the school batted an eye at that. If I died, nothing much would change and I would most likely be forgotten pretty quickly. As I was lost in thought, I did not realize a sludge creature coming up behind me as she crossed under a tunnel. She had slipped through a grate in the ground. Ah, what a nice meat sack. No one will suspect that I'm hiding in the body of a weak male. The sludge monster said as she started to engulf me. She started digging herself in my mouth, ears, and even nostrils. My face, throat, and stomach were burning. I was so terrified and sad, yet a small part of me was relieved that my painful life would end soon. I was going to die. Everything was going black. I am dying. The pain has stopped. Is this how I am going to die? To be nothing but a pathetic meat sack for this monster. Maybe this is for the best. I didn't have a good life. I should just let it all go. It will be a lot easier. For it all to just end. For me to end. No, 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 no. I can't die like this. Come on. Wake up. I need to survive. I need to change this trash heap of a world. I need power, so for fuck's sakes. Wake the fuck up. Third paw. While the sludge monster was finishing up stuffing herself into Izuku's body, something strange happened. A black and white aura started to surround Izuku. It covered him until all that was left was a silhouette of a boy covered in black and white. Next thing that happened was the sludge monster started screaming in agony and pain as it felt itself being ripped apart, molecule by molecule. The sludge monster started to evaporate until there was nothing left of it. All that stood there was an unharmed Izuku who now looked slightly different. Izuku paw. I stood there completely bewildered. I was dying and next thing I know the sludge monster is dead and I'm standing here with this new power of mine. I cannot believe it. Did I actually unlock a quirk? No, this power was a lot more than a quirk. I could feel it. Also, it is like some knowledge from this quirk was sent directly into my brain. I somehow knew some of the capabilities of this power. It severely increased my strength, speed, defense, and agility. Also, the thing that made me smile the most was that I knew that I could activate quirks for other men as well. This made me think that men did have quirks, but were just dormant inside of them. I saw a puddle and decided to see if I had any physical changes. Turns out I did. My hair color turned to pitch black and my skin became a bit paler. My iris was a glowing white. The changes were definitely noticeable, but if someone looked at me they could still recognize me as Izuku. I realized that this was the chance I needed to change this world, to put everyone on equal terms with each other. It will take time. First I need to fake my own death. I started scattering my school supplies on the ground. Then I cut my hand and sprayed my blood all over the tunnel. Even though there was gonna be no actual body, it wouldn't matter. People would not look much into the disappearance of a boy and the scene was enough to make them think of the possibility that I am dead. I draped a black hoodie that I kept for rainy days over myself and left. It was a simple common black hoodie that was not specific to me so it couldn't be used to recognize me. As I was walking, I saw Izumi and then I saw All Might jump in front of her. I quickly hid in an alley and listened to their conversation. All Might was one of the few heroes that I respected as she preached anyone could be a hero and I assumed that meant men as well. Then suddenly the very muscular woman deflated. She deflated. Let me repeat that, she fucking deflated. The next part came so as an even bigger surprise. All Might deflated into my mother Toshina. Then I heard Izumi speak. Mom, you're All Might. Izumi started. Yes sweetheart, I am the #1 hero All Might. Toshina said with pride. Izumi looked dumbfounded, to which I found hilarious. Why are you telling me? Izumi questioned. This is because I want you to be my successor. You see, my quirk is called One for All. It is a stock-pilling quirk that allows the user to pass down the quirk to another person, which allows the quirk to get stronger with each new generation. I got the quirk from my master who felt I had the heart of a hero even though I was born one of the rare quirkless women. This quirk was actually made from the quirk of a villainous woman called All for One. So you see, I want you to be the next successor of my quirk. Toshina explained. I made a mental note of the name All for One. I am honored and accept the responsibility in becoming your successor. I have to ask, are you able to give the quirk to men because Izuku still has his dream of becoming a hero? Izumi asked. Well, it is technically possible for a man to receive the quirk, though I do not believe they would be capable and strong enough to handle the power of it. Especially Izuku, as I don't believe he is worthy of becoming a hero. It's for his own good. Inko agrees as well, Toshina explained. I understand, Izumi said, and they went home together. Anger, resentment, ferocity, enraged. Those are just some of the words that can describe what I am feeling right now. My stupid bitch of a mother believes that Izumi is more worthy of being a hero than me. She believes that men cannot handle power. Fine then, I will show them all. No matter what obstacles, people, or bloodshed I will have to go through, I will fix this world, but I need to wait and plan for a bit. I am gonna need a place to stay. It may be risky, but I believe I know someone who will help me. I started to make my way to her home. Luckily she told me where she moved to after she got fired. It was nighttime by the time I got there. I knocked on the door until she opened it. Izuku, is that you? What are you doing here? Asked Izumi Pav. Mom and I were on our way home after our discussion about me becoming her successor. I was so excited. I'm gonna become the next #1 hero. I felt a little bad for Izuku, but this just meant that I could protect him even more. When we got home and I opened the door, my other mother Inko shot a small confetti cannon in the room and shouted congratulations. She told me how proud she was of me and that I would become a great hero. I also found out she was the #8 hero known as Green Storm. I saw a huge cake in the kitchen and we sat down to eat together. The family party was great. The three of us ate cake, played board games, talked for hours. I couldn't help but think that I was forgetting something. Wow, that was fun. What are we going to do about this mess? I asked. Oh, no biggie. We will just have Izuku clean it up when he gets home. Inko suggested. I realized he was not home yet. Why isn't he home yet? I asked. I don't know. I'm sure he will turn up soon. Though he will be grounded for staying out so late without our permission. Toshina said. We decided to just wait. We waited for a couple minutes, then those minutes turned into an hour. Soon we were waiting for hours. Eventually it was well past midnight. We were getting slightly angry and worried. That boy is gonna be in so much trouble for this. Inko said, and then we heard a knock on the door. We answered, to which we saw Miss Tsukauchi, who was a detective friend of the family. Good evening, or should I say very early morning. I am sorry to say that I have some very bad news for you. She said. What is it? Toshina asked. Well, I and the police department believe that your son, Izuku Yagi, has been a victim of a gruesome murder. The detective stated. What do you mean? Where is my baby boy? Inko inquired as she fell to her knees with Toshina running to comfort her. We have yet to locate the body, but the scene of the crime leads us to believe he is dead. She answered. You believe? You also haven't found the body. So my brother might still be alive. I said with hope, though my eyes started tearing up. We strongly believe because of the evidence we have gathered thus far. Also, there are plenty of quirks nowadays that could dispose of a body. The detective said, then just handed us some pictures. They were pictures of the crime scene. Izuku's school supplies were everywhere along with his blood. It looked bloody and disgusting. To which it finally hit me that my brother was dead. I broke down with the rest of my family. The detective said her apologies and left. During that night I did not get any sleep as I was a mess. My eyes were red and puffy from crying. I had realized my brother was dead and also realized how much of a bitch I had been to him. I beat and used him like he was a slave. I originally wanted only to protect him, but in the end I tortured him along with our friends. No, with my friends, as he probably did not consider them his friends anymore. When I decided to get up for school, I heard my mother Inko crying into Toshina some more. We don't have a single one. Inko yelled. Single one of what? I asked. A single picture of Izuku after he was 4. She clarified. Then it dawned on me just how bad Izuku's life actually was. Through all my memories with my mother's, I could not find any birthdays, celebrations, or anything of the sort that Izuku was a part of. When he was home we treated him so badly, basically like a slave. I would abuse him and make him do stuff for me, and so would my mother's. We are a horrible family. I said. What do you mean, Izumi? Toshina asked. We are a horrible, disgusting excuse of a family. I screamed and shocked both my mothers. I continued. We used and abused him constantly. He did most of the chores himself and even had to cook for himself. We would punish him when he spoke out or made a mistake. When was the last time we even told him that we loved him? He was a slave in his own house. We were monsters, villains to him. Not just us either, we have all seen how he and other men are treated in this society. What right do we even have to call ourselves his family? What right do we have to call ourselves heroes? I finished and by the end I was a crying mess again. Realization hit both of my mother's faces as we were crying, coughing, and looking like a disgusting mess. Toshina suggested that we should go to his room and see if we could find anything that we could remember him by. When we opened his door, all we saw was a barren room. No posters or much of any individuality in it at all. I noticed the differences between our rooms. There was a simple twin-sized bed in the corner with a single sheet, a single blanket and a single pillow on it. I had a king-sized bed with layers of sheets and blankets as well as a multitude of pillows on it. In a corner of the room was a little indent with clothes hanging in it in which I assume was his closet. My closet was practically its own room, able to fit me in multiple shoes, leg and torso wear as well as hats. My closet even had a big-ass mirror in it with a whole wall dedicated to my makeup next to the mirror. Next to Izuku's closet was a small dresser, maybe only 3 feet in height and the feet in width and length. If I had to guess, could only fit around 8 pairs of clothes. I think I had 2 dressers that were bigger than myself. On top of his dresser was a folded green hoodie. I think he had a black one as well, but I cannot quite remember. The last thing in the room was his desk, which had a small uncomfortable-looking wooden chair in front of it. The desk itself was simple. It was short and had 2 drawers on the right side, one on top of the other. On his desk was a studying notebook with a pencil and sharpener next to it. There was also one of those small circular click lights where they turn on when you press them. He must use that as a lamp. The desk in my room was big and had a semicircular shape to it with an extra padded office chair in front of it. On the desk itself were 2 monitors connected to a 10 terabyte PC tower that was situated under the desk. I used that PC solely for gaming as I had multiple gaming systems I connect to it. I had a laptop also on the desk that I used for homework. Well, the homework that I decided to do myself, which was rare because I usually selfishly push my homework onto my brother. I also had an assortment of notebooks, paper, pens, and pencils stashed in my drawers. I'm a spoiled selfish bitch. I say out loud by accident. Honey, no you, Toshina tried to say, but I interrupted. If you go look at my room and compare it to Izuku's, then you will see. I got everything I wanted and more, while he did not even get all that he needed. I said, and Toshinori and Inko don't reply. They go over to Izuku's dresser to search for anything they can use to remember him by. I decided to go and search his desk drawers. The top drawer simple had some study books that I assume he borrowed from a library as well as a few more pencils. I closed the top drawer and opened the bottom drawer. It looked rather empty. There was only one thing she could see in there. A very dusty notebook. As soon as I picked it up, the dust clouded up, making it clear that it hasn't been touched in a very long time. I opened it and flipped through it. It was Izuku's old hero analysis notebook. Full of hero information, though it probably has not been updated for years. I flipped back and forth before stopping on one of the first pages. It was a page on me and my quirk. His notes both were specific, but also very kind. He saw my quirk and me as someone to look up to and admire at the point of him writing this. I doubt he has felt that way for a while, considering how I treated him. I noticed some wet spots on the paper and realized that I started to cry at some point. I put the notebook down on top of the desk and noticed that I left the drawer open. I bent down to shut the drawer as I was gonna keep the notebook as remembrance. I was about to close the drawer when I noticed a piece of tape stuck to the top of the inside of the drawer. There was something hidden there, so I carefully grabbed whatever was taped to the roof of the drawer and brought it above the desk to get a better look at it. As soon as I saw it, my skin went pale and it felt as though my heart had stopped. It was like I was paralyzed. My mothers noticed my reaction and went to see what I had found. When they saw the items in my hand, their reaction was more or less the same as mine. In my hand were 2 small blood-stained razors. Izuku had opted to cut himself. He willingly hurt himself. No, not willingly. People made Izuku cut himself. School made him cut himself. Our friends made him cut himself. His own family made him cut himself. I made him cut himself. Who was he supposed to turn to for help? He had no one, but himself. Everyone including myself left him to deal with his shit life without any help. We did this. Not just us either, but this society in general. I stated, we're failures as heroes and parents. We couldn't save a child that was our own son. Both my parents say. I took both the razors and the notebooks to my room. My parents asked why I was taking the razors, but I assured them I was not going to cut myself. I dusted off the notebook and placed it on my desk and the razors on top of it. I had also realized that the last time I was with my brother was when Katsuki told him to kill himself and I did nothing to defend him while he was there. I ended up just sitting and staring at the notebook and razors for what was literally hours. By the time I looked at the clock it was already 4 in the afternoon. I didn't really care that I skipped school and I doubt my parents did or they would have said something. I went downstairs to see Mother Inko passed out with tear streaks on her face. Her head was resting in Mother Toshina's lap. Toshina looked at me with a sad expression then went back to rubbing Inko's head. I looked over to the kitchen, but even though I had not eaten all day, I was not hungry. I called up Katsuki and Shoka and told them to meet me at the park in a secluded area. They needed to know about Izuku. I went and waited in the park. Hey Izumi, why the hell did you ask us to meet up here? Katsuki asked. Also why were you and Izu not in school today? Shoka asked. I just stood and watched them. I tried to talk, but no word came out. I tried and tried. No matter what I did I could not say it to them. They both kept on asking and asking. It got to the point in which I broke down into yet another crying session. I just could not stop and both Katsuki and Shoka were yelling at me trying to find out what's wrong. I was finally about to get some words out of my mouth. He's GGG goon. Gone, I said as I cried. Who? They said in unison. I needed for them to understand so I took a deep breath in and screamed with all my might. Izuku is gone. He is dead and it is my fault. I hurt him so badly and now my brother is gone forever. I screamed out loud to the point of hurting my voice. Both Shoka and Katsuki fell silent and a couple minutes all that could be heard was my light sniffles from crying. Do you mean he killed himself? Shoka whispered. No, the police believe he was caught up in some muggery or something and he was killed. Though we might as well have killed him. I found evidence in his room that he was cutting himself. I said, to which both of their eyes widened. It was quiet again for a bit longer this time. It's his fault, Katsuki whispered. What? I said in disbelief to what she was saying. It's fucking his fault for being a weak useless Deku. If he couldn't survive a little bullying or a mugging then he should not have been alive to Beggy. Pow! My punch interrupted her. How fucking dare you? He was my brother and if you ever speak about him like that again then I will make sure you suffer. I screamed, to which Katsuki just booked it while covering what appeared to be a broken nose. I am going to go home, now. I am sorry, but I need to be alone for now and I am sorry about Izuku. I know that we all have blame to share. Shoka whispered quickly and headed home as I could see tears coming down her face. I was left there alone. I headed back home and went straight to bed. When morning came I thought over whether or not I should go to school. I decided to go. When I got to school me, Katsuki, and Shoka all steered clear of each other. Shoka and I still exchanged greetings, but did not converse much at all really, but I refused to socialize with Katsuki who now has a bandaged nose. What she said about Izuku ruined our friendship. When I got to class one sat down as the homeroom teacher took attendance. Izumi Yagi, she asked. Here, I said. Ah, good to have you back. She said and continued. Izuku Yagi, honestly, missing 2 days in a row. I am going to have to give that boy detention. Seriously, if he cannot take school seriously then, she started but was interrupted. He is dead, I said and the teacher just blinked bewildered. Ah, I see, well let's carry on then. She said and went along with class as though nothing happened. During lunch period, I again was not hungry so I found myself wandering the halls lost in thought. Well, not really thinking, just walking with paying much attention. I was pulled out of my trance by the sound of something banging against the lockers. I looked around the corner and saw a younger boy being pushed against the lockers by an upperclassman girl. She seemed to be using her quirk which apparently caused her palms to heat up. The bully was burning the boy. Hey fucker, What do you mean you don't have my fucking math homework? I need that for next class, and what am I supposed to do now? She asked. I'm sorry. I forgot to do it. Please don't hurt me, he pleaded. Maybe if I burn your face a bit then you would not forget so easily, she said as she brought her hand closer to the face of the boy. Please don't. I'm begging you, he begged. The girl just smirked and was about to burn him when she suddenly flew across the hall into some lockers. She looked up ready to kill whoever did that till she saw me. Everyone knew how strong I was, and now the girl was scared shitless. If I ever see you bullying another person again, then I promise you that you will be spending a lot of time in the ER. I threatened, and the girl just nodded before running away. I looked toward the boy and wanted to ask if he was all right, but the look in his eye reminded me of Izuku. The boy was terrified of me as well and couldn't blame him. It was them, as I found out that I was not seen as the strong heroic type, but as someone people fear. The boy shakily got and quickly apologized for some reason before booking it down the hall. This is not what I wanted. I want people to see me and feel safe, but what have I ever done to make them feel that way? I need to change, severely change. I will stop bullying people and protect those in need no matter who they are. Starting today I will see everyone as an equal and hopefully gain the trust and friendship of some of the boys in school. When I become the #1 hero, I will change this world for the better. Izuku paused the day he disappeared. Izuku, is that you? What are you doing here? Asked. Hello, Miss Sakura. Yes, it is, and I'll explain to you if you just let me in first. Please, I asked desperately. Of course, come on in. Also, did you dye your hair? She said as I went into her house. It's not hair dye, nor am I wearing contacts. I started and then went on to explain why I was there. I needed her to lend me a place to stay, while I figured out my plan of action to change this world. All I do know is that it will be bloody. Also, I have to get used to my new power. Whoa, Izuku, that's a lot to take in, she stated. I know it is, and I hate myself for having to bring you into this, but you are one of the only people in my life to show me genuine kindness and treat me as an equal. I pled. Izuku, don't worry, you are welcome to stay with me as long as you need. I agree with you that this world needs to be changed. I will always help you out, she said. Thank you, and don't worry, I have got a general idea of where to start with my plan. I said. That's good. Now why do you explain this power of yours to me beside that it makes you look a bit emo? She said, and I went and explained my ability to her. I refused to acknowledge it as a quirk because something tells me that it is much more than that. After the explanation, Miss Sakura made me some dinner. I tried to help, but she insisted since she was an adult. A feeling of weirdness and thankfulness washed over me, as it has been so long since someone other than me prepared a meal for me. After that I was shown to a spare guest bedroom she had. I have a lot to think about. I do have a start though. I need to make some allies as well as find the woman known as All for One. No matter what, I will change this world for the better. Izuku paused. I have been living with Sakura for a week now. Sakura said. Calling her Miss Sakura made her feel old, so I now simply call her by her surname. I am still not used to it. For the most part, I have just been planning things out, with Sakura helping out a bit. Only a bit though, as I did not want her too involved. I can only plan so much though. I need allies from both men and women. I decided to head out and search for some people I could be potential allies. At first, I did not find anyone. Soon it became dark and I was heading back to Sakura's through a shortcut, when suddenly I heard a scream. As soon as I heard the scream I rushed towards it. Eventually I saw the light emanating from what seemed to be fire. The closer I got, the stronger the smell of rancid burning flesh came into my nose. I was getting worried that I would be there too late. I started to hear a voice, but could not make it out. Eventually I made it there and the sight I saw disgusted me. Enja Todoroki was there towering over the burning body of her son Tuya. The mother of only of my biggest tormentors was currently burning her own son. He was twitching and looked to be still breathing, so that came as a relief to me. You are a worthless waste of space. Talking back to me and thinking you have any rights at all. I am so glad to finally get rid of you and have one less distraction to train Shoka. Now good riddance and may you burn away like the trash you are. Enja, better known as #2 Hero Endeavor, said and left. I rushed over to the older-looking boy. If I didn't do something fast he was going to die. I released my power and begged it to help him. It covered his wounds and I noticed it stopped the bleeding, but did not heal him completely. I picked him up and rushed him over to Sakura's house. Once there, Sakura quickly went to work cleaning and stitching the wounds on her face. It helped that she had a small healing quirk. When she was done he still had scars, but was in stable condition. I wondered if I could use my ability to temporarily empower her quirk as to increase the healing, but that was to test another time. We gently placed the 16-year-old teen down in my bed. I thanked Sakura and went to sleep on the couch. I woke up the next morning to someone yelling the word, "Hello," repeatedly. I groggily got up and went to the guest room. I saw Sakura there and she said I should probably be the one to talk with me. I agreed and let myself in. As I walked, I saw the red-headed boy slightly sitting up staring at me. "Hey there Tuya, been a bit hasn't it?" I say, trying to sound normal. "Who are you and how did I get here?" he asked. "Come on, man, you don't recognize me, we've known each other for years." I say. Tuya just squinted his eyes before a look of realization and shock adorned his face. "Izuku," he said. "Correct," I said. "How? I was told you were dead." He stated. "I'd like to think of myself as reborn." I clarify. Quote. What? He asked and I explained what happened at the sludge incident to him. I explained all the way up to the point of me bringing him back here. "Holy fuck, dude, you have power and can unlock the quirks of other guys." "That I can. I can unlock yours if you want, but you need to promise to help me change this world." "I sure you want just as much as me," I said. "If you unlock my quirk then I will definitely help. I don't want to live like a piece of trash anymore," he says and I smile. "Alright, but I need you to promise me that you will stay hidden with me. We cannot let society know that I have the ability to unlock male quirks. So no going to get your revenge on your mother endeavor." I said. "Okay. I understand and agree." He said. "Good, now let's unlock that quirk," I said and placed my hand on him. My aura started showing and eventually it stopped. "Was that it?" he asked, looking kind of disappointed. "Well, try it out," I said, to which he held his hands out and focused. Eventually a small blue flame emerged and then went out. "He will need some practice it seems." "That's so cool. Thank you so much," he said. "Don't mention it. I eventually plan on unlocking all the male quirks. Though you are going to need to practice using your quirk," I say as he nodded. "Don't worry, I will," he said, and just then, Sakura came in holding a tray with what looked like breakfast on it. "Hello," Sakura said rather cheerfully. I saw Tuya tense up and back up on the bed. "Don't worry, she is good. She's helping us. It was her who treated your wounds," I said, reassuring him. "Oh, thank you very much, miss," he said. "Sakura, call me Sakura please. Also you're welcome and don't worry, you along with Izuku are welcome to stay as long as you need," she says. Tuya relaxed a bit. Okay, thank you Sakura. My name is Tuya, but I never really liked it and I probably need an alias now, so why don't you call me Dabi?" Tuya, now known as Dabi, said. "We should probably change your hair as well just to be safe." I said. "I got some black hair dye if you're interested," Sakura said, to which I gave her a bewildered look and why she needed black hair dye when she had pink hair. "I went through a phase in high school," she said, and everyone including Dabi laughed. "I would be grateful if you let me borrow it," Dabi said, and Sakura nodded. "Also don't you need an alias as well Izuku?" Sakura asked. "You're right, any suggestion?" I said and immediately regretted it. Power Boy, the emo kid, the one, Batman, the penetrator. Moving on, I will have to think of a name myself. I said. "Well," Dabi asked impatiently. "Ouroboros." I said. "Ouroboros, I like it. It means infinity and rebirth." Sakura said. "That settles it, my alias shall be known as Ouroboros," I stated. Over the next 3 months the three of us spent a lot of time together. Dabi and I spent a lot of time training. He was getting pretty good with his quirk and I believe with due time he could rival and even surpass his mother, Endeavor. Eventually he even opened up to Sakura. We were lucky that Sakura worked from home and owned a relatively secluded home and plot of land. It was apparently left for her in her parents' will. I have made sure to not overbear my welcome. In order to help my conscience, I help with chores and such around the house. This time I am choosing to help and not being forced to, which makes it feel a lot better. Dabi even helps out from time to time. Though I do know that I need to find the person I am looking for, as they should be able to help me obtain a more secure base of operations. One that puts Sakura at less risk. One night, I was breaking into a detention center that was rumored to be one of the bases for the person that I am looking for. This place turned out to be a bust. The person had nothing to do with this place. As I was sneaking through the place just to make sure I did not miss anything, I heard some weird noises coming through one of the doors. I peeked through the window and saw a bunch of orderlies beating up this girl. What's more is the adult girls were holding a knife to girls' fingers. I could just make out some of the things they were saying. Villainous whore. Yeah, with a quirk like that you are nothing but a nuisance. You should have just used that disgusting decay quirk on yourself the moment you manifested it. Don't worry. Once we cut your fingers off, you can go from being a villainous bitch to a quirkless loser. They were about to cut her fingers off. I need to act fast. Especially after that last comment. Without thinking too much, I kicked open the door. The orderlies all looked at me with a surprised face before looking pissed off. Hey, the fuck do you think you're doing in here? How did you even get in the building? Whatever, we will just have to get rid of you, I suppose. I am only going to warn you once. So listen up, leave that girl alone and get out. I demanded. Or what? They said, smirking. Or I will have to stop you myself. I stated, and they all burst out in laughter. Once that stopped, they lunged at me using their quirks, thinking that because I am a man that I could not fight back. Their confidence faded quickly though, as I easily overpowered their rather pathetic quirks. After an initial shock of seeing a man with a quirk, they started begging. Wait. Please just wait. We are sorry. Please let us go. They begged. No. I simply said and proceeded to mercilessly butcher them all. It wasn't a quick execution either. They were suffering. I was lucky the room we were in was soundproof so no one could hear their screams. If I let them go, they would just report that they saw a man with a quirk. Not only that, but I felt like they got what they deserved. I was tempted to leave a symbol of sorts, but I figured I should do that at a later date. I suddenly remembered the girl. I looked at her, and noticed quite a few things. She looked the same age as Dabi, but in desperate need of lotion and chapstick. Her hair was silverfish gray that was a bit past her shoulders and very messy. Also, it looked as though she was trying to scratch her neck, but the thick quirk-canceling cuffs were getting in the way. I started walking towards her and she immediately backed up against the wall. "GG, get away from me. Or else," she said. It was obvious she was trying to act tough, but really looked scared shitless and about to cry. I couldn't blame her though, as she witnessed everything I just did. "Please relax, I won't hurt you, so please calm down. I can break those cuffs off if you want," I suggested, trying to ease her. She was shaking, but eventually brought her hands up. Gently, I used my strength to break apart the cuffs so as to not hurt her wrists. Once done, she scurried back to the wall and started scratching her neck. "Thank you," she whispered. "No problem. Do you mind explaining exactly why they were going to hurt you so bad?" I asked. Quote. "Please, I would like to know what made those bitches justify their actions." "It's because of my quirk. It is called decay. Basically anything I touch with all 5 of my fingers will decay to nothing," she explained and curled up into a ball. "I see, so because of something you had no control over, the people of this society ridicule you as well as hurt you." I said. "Yes, may I ask why you a question, sir?" She explained. "Please call me Izuku, and yes you can, but only if you tell me your name first." I said with a smile. "My name is Tenka Shimura. I was wondering how you have a quirk," she asked. I swear, I heard the name, Shimura, somewhere before. "Well, it is a pleasure to meet you, Miss Shimura, or do you prefer Tenka or maybe just Shimura?" I asked. "Whatever is fine," she said. "All right then, I will go with Tenka for now. Anyways, to answer your question, my ability is not really a quirk. Though I can explain more if you agree to join me." I said. "Join you?" Tenka said. "Well, you see, I am on a mission to make this world equal." I want to make men equal to women as well as different types of quirks equal to each other. I explain. If I refuse then you will kill me, right? Tenka said, looking down. I will not kill you. I said immediately. What? But why? She said, looking bewildered. Sigh. While I will kill to keep my secrets safe, I don't see a need to kill you. You know how this society is, if you go and tell people about me then they won't believe you because of your quirk as it is deemed villainous. Also the dead bodies in this room will most likely be blamed on you even if there is no evidence that you did it. Listen Tenka, I was to change this world for the better and would like your help. I explained. Can I play games? She asked. Like PC, Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, etc. I love video games, she said, while blushing a bit, and I smiled. I don't see why not. I'm sure we can get you plenty of video games to play. I said, and for once her eyes sparked with joy. Okay, I will join you. She said. That's wonderful, now why don't get going? I said, extending my hand. She took it, being careful not to decay my hand. On the way there, I explain a bit about my life and about my power. It seems we had a few things coming. Tenka's childhood suffered was full of abuse like mine. Her single mother was the one who abused her and constantly locked her up outside. She had an older sister who was relatively passive, but never actually helped her. When her quirk appeared, she accidentally killed her older sister in trying to get help. Once her mother saw her, he called her a monster and she ended up killing her mother in a fit of rage. After that she ran away, but was eventually caught by her grandmother who was a hero. After being thoroughly beaten by her own grandma, she was tossed in that detention center for the last 6 years. She was a bit on the arrogant side, but I could see how much she had suffered. When we got back to Sakura's I introduced her to everyone. Dabi was his usual cold self, but still politely introduced himself and even showed her his quirk. I assume they got along so well because they are the same age. Sakura was her usual open self and happily welcomed Tenka. Tenka was rightfully reclusive at first, but eventually I know she will eventually open up to everyone. I spoke with Sakura about getting some video games for Tenka and she replied that she would not mind it. Until she got the consoles she said she would let Tenno use her laptop and old Nintendo 64 for gaming. I was honestly surprised that N64 still worked as the console hadn't been manufactured in centuries. Anyways, it looks like she will be fine. Eventually another 3 months went by and everything was going great. I found out that if I was in physical contact with someone then I could dramatically increase the capabilities of their quirk. Found that out when Dabi and I almost burnt Sakura's house down. That was the first time I had ever seen a pissed off Sakura. Dabi and I were scared shitless for a whole week just from her gaze. Speaking of Dabi, he has gotten great control over his first quirk. He is not at Endeavor's level yet. He is making great progress though. Tenka has been a great help because with her I could more successfully infiltrate the underworld where the other villains were. She also had a cruel side which was great for our reputation. Though she had a temper I could tell she cared for us and also sensed something between her and Dabi, though I should not focus on that. It was finally time as we have gotten the location of the person I have been looking for. I was currently preparing to leave. I need to speak with all for one. I don't see why you have to go alone. Tenka said. That is because I want to have AFO join us willingly and don't want it to look like I plan on forcing her to join. I explain. Still I think you should take at least one of us with you as backup. Dabi suggested. Don't worry, I am strong and getting stronger every day. I may not be at AFO or All Might's level yet, but I will get there as I can feel it. Also I am sure I can escape rather easily. The informant said that AFO has not been active either, so I am fairly certain that I will be fine. I said reassuringly. Alright, just please promise to be careful. Sakura said. Don't worry, I promise. I said. I wish you luck. Sakura said. Thanks Mom. I said and instantly started to process the words that came out of my mouth. Izuku. Sakura started. I gotta get going. Bye. I said and quickly left. I can't be thinking about that right now. I finally made it to what appeared to be an abandoned warehouse. I snuck inside even though I looked empty. I searched room to room. Eventually I was about to give up thinking I got a faulty lead when I noticed that a table was slanted a bit. The legs of the table were equal in height, so it was odd. I flipped the table and removed the old dirty rug from the floor to reveal a trapdoor. Taking a stroke of luck that this wasn't a trap, I opened and went into the trapdoor. Eventually, I came to a door which led to a room. The door closed behind me as I went into the room. There wasn't much light, but I could make out a silhouette of a woman sitting down with tubes and machines connected to her. "Why have you come here, boy?" she asked. "I came here looking for someone. I believe that someone is you, Miss All for One," I said politely as I wanted us to join together. I get the feeling the All for One is not the type of person many believe her to be. "What organization sent you? If the leader wanted to speak to me, then the woman should come out herself," she said. "The leader did come here," I said. Where is she?" "No, whatever is doesn't matter. I have no intention of doing anything anymore. If you don't like, then just have the organization you work under kill me. My physical condition is vastly deteriorating and I have barely anything left," she said, and I got a better look at her. The top half of her head was scarred and she had tubes in her back. "Well, at least hear what I have to say. Oh, and by the way, the leader of our organization is standing in front of you," I said. "You're the leader? I'm sorry, but how?" People nowadays only responded to power. "The type of power that only quirks can produce," she said. "Power is a necessity. I won't disagree with that, but I assure you that I have half more than enough," I said, and let my ability surround me. The raw power I said radiated off of me and shook the whole building. The look on AFO's face was hard to tell because of her scarring, but her mouth was agape, so I assumed she was surprised. How is this possible? A male with a quirk," she said. "I don't really believe it's a quirk, but as for possibility, I don't know why either." "So would you mind hearing me out now?" I asked. "All right then," she said. "Okay, to get something out of the way, would you mind explaining your history to me? I heard you were a ruthless villain that only cared for herself and wanted nothing more than to rule the world. I get the feeling that that is not true though," I said. "I see, all right. I was born in one of the first quirk generations. Quirks had only started to appear about a decade and a half before I was born. As I grew up, I became interested in business and quirks as well as how to use them to further better the world. At first, I believed that I did not have a quirk, but one day in high school I was caught up in an accident. The quirk of another student went out of control and it started hurting people. The girl clearly didn't want to hurt anybody, but things happened before and the only sure way to deal with them was to eliminate them, as quirk-canceling cuffs were not invented yet. She was scared and didn't want to die. The girl was a friend of mine and I wanted to help, so I got close to her and put my hands on her to try and calm her down. What happened instead though is my hands glowed red and the girl power formed. The girl got weaker and weaker until it just stopped. I could feel something different in my body and activated her quirk. I had taken her quirk. She looked at me and I thought she was angry, but she instead thanked me. I was a bit surprised, but I realized that by taking her quirk I just saved her life. As time went on, I obtained a lot of quirks, but at that time I only took quirks from people willing to give them. Eventually I graduated, went to college and got a decent corporate job. By this time, roughly just over 60% of women had quirks now. At some point I figured out that I could also give quirks. Though I found out that the majority of women could not handle more than one quirk. I tried giving the quirk to men, but it did not work for some reason. Eventually I went to give my younger sister a quirk. You see, my sister was thought to have been born quirkless, but also born very sickly as she was bedridden for most of her life. I felt for her as she was family and gave her a stockpiling quirk. I hoped the quirk would counteract her condition and make her better. Well, it did work in the end, but even though I saved her body, it seemed her mind was already too far gone. She hated everyone because everyone ridiculed her for being weak. She especially hated men because our father was a very strict man and did not take kindly to my sister and her poor condition. I eventually found out she was leading charge in part of a plan to completely push men down the ladder. I tried to stop her, but she did not listen to me. It got to the point that I tried taking back the quirk I gave her, but I couldn't for some reason. I later figured out that she did have a quirk. One thought to be useless as it was a quirk that could pass down quirks. Her quirk and the quirk gave her combined and became one for all. I fought against and constantly tried to get her to change, but it was hard as she and the people in with her mission already posted me as the villain. My quirk can make me seem as a greedy quirk stealing bitch, so it wasn't too hard for them to paint me a bad image. We fought until she did something that went too far across the line. For reasons, I had to go into hiding. She found me though and ambushed me. During the fight, she killed my husband that had stuck with me the entire time. Not only that, but during the fight she punched me hard in the stomach, causing me to lose my unborn child. She knew I was pregnant and used the opportunity to strike at me at my weakest. After this I came to the conclusion that there was no other option but to kill her, and that is what I did the very next time we fought. Though apparently she had already passed the quirk on, and eventually the cycle just kept on repeating. I would fight the welders of OFA and beat them only to have them already pass it one. Trying to reason with them became pointless as I was already named the symbol of chaos. Finally All Might came, and with the power of OFA, which got stronger and stronger with each generation, was able to defeat me. I barely made it out alive, but I can no longer fight nor do anything. AFO explained. Well, let me start off by saying I am sorry for what you went through. Though let me say that I believe if we work together then can change this world for the better. You see, my power doesn't just increase my stats, but I also can activate the quirks dormant in men. I said, dormant? She asked. Yes, dormant. I figured out the men do have quirks, but they are laid dormant. I believe that is also why you couldn't give them quirks or take their dormant ones, because the quirks themselves were not active. The dormant feature blocked your quirk from doing anything. I said, I see, and you have proof that you can unlock these quirks? She asked. Yes, I do. Here, take a look, I said, and pulled out a phone courtesy of Sakura. I showed her a video of Dabi using his quirk. That's amazing. AFO said. Thanks. Do you mind telling me your name, boy? She asked. Well, my birth name is Izuku Yagi, but I go by Ouroboros now. I said. Yagi. She said skeptically. So you know, do you? Well, yes, I am legally the son of the pro hero All Might. I said. Then why? She asked. I then went and explained my life to her. I explained everything on how I was neglected, abused, and just in pain. I see, so you also know the feeling of being betrayed and hurt by family. AFO stated. Yes, I do. I have come here today to not just ask for your help, but to ask you to join me. Not work under me or for me, but as an equal to change this world. I said. All right then, Ouroboros. I agree and will join you. I may not be able to do much physically, but I still have my resources. I also assume you would like to keep yourself secret. AFO agreed. That is wonderful to hear, and yes, I believe it is my best interest that I stay hidden. About your physical condition, I might actually be able to help with that. I would just need to go get someone. I said. All right, but I can give you a shortcut. Kurogiri, would you come here please? She said, and suddenly a warp gate opened up. Out of the gate came a feminine figure that was surrounded in a purple fog. Yes, Master, Kurogiri said. Would you please escort that man to where he needs to be and then bring him back once he has acquired the person he needs? AFO said. Yes, Master, Kurogiri said, and then she went to me and said, please give me an address. Redacted address, I said, and was instantly covered in fog and soon popped up in front of Sakura's house. We went in and I explained everything to Sakura, Dabi, and Tenka. They were surprised by how well it went. I went up to Sakura. Sakura, can you come with me for a second to go see All for One? I asked. All right, but you have promised me that we will discuss what happened earlier today. Sakura said. I knew exactly what she was talking about, and she was going to talk with me about it no matter what. I promise. I said. Okay then, let's go. She said with a smile, and we went to tell Kurogiri. Okay Kurogiri, we are ready to go. I said. All right, young master. She said. Just. Master. Sorta makes me uncomfortable. Just call me Izuku or Ouroboros please. I said. Okay, Master Ouroboros. She said. Sigh. I guess Master is a must for her. We get surrounded in fog again and soon end up back in the room with AFO. Welcome back. AFO said. Thanks. I said. Thank you, Kurogiri. AFO said. My pleasure, Kurogiri said and left. And you must be, AFO said, looking at Sakura. You Cough. I am Sakura, Ayano Sakura. It is a pleasure to meet you, Miss All for One. Sakura said, looking very nervous. The pleasure is all mine. I take it that you are the one that can help me with my current physical condition. AFO said, yes, with the help of Izuku. Sakura said, Izuku's ability allows him to heal people as well. AFO asks, no, the only healing factor my ability has is a bit of self-regeneration. I chipped in, then how? AFO asks, you see, if I am in physical contact with someone, then I can choose to increase the power of their quirk as long as I stay in contact with them. Sakura's healing quirk alone would not be able to heal your injuries, but if I boosted her power, then it should be able to heal everything, including your scars. I explained. I see, that's very impressive of you both. Though I wonder why you have not done that to get rid of your scarring. I may not be able to see with my eyes, but some of the quirks I have more than make up for that, so I can see the condition of your body just fine. AFO said, my scars serve as a reminder for me. I said, alright, then are we ready to proceed? AFO asks, of course, I said, and both Sakura and I went up to her. Sakura placed her hand on AFO's head and I placed my hand on Sakura. We both activated our abilities and started healing AFO. It was a slow process, but eventually we finished. AFO was tall for a woman, standing at just under 6 feet. She had brown eyes with matching straight dark brown hair. She did not look scary, but definitely had the appearance of a very imposing person. Thank you, to both of you, Izuku and Sakura. AFO said sincerely. It was no problem. I said, you're very welcome, Miss All for One. Sakura replied, please just call me AFO, but you may also know my surname as Shigaraki. AFO replied, okay, AFO, I said, and then looked at Sakura before continuing, may we begin discussing business tomorrow? I need to discuss something with Sakura as well as fill everyone else in. I said, of course, I have Kurogiri bring you home. AFO said, ah, it was a pleasure to meet you, AFO. Sakura said, that is the same for me. I said, likewise, have a pleasant day. AFO said, Kurogiri came and brought us back home. We explained everything to Dabi and Tenka. Then me and Sakura went in the back to have a discussion that I was not looking forward to. Izuku, Sakura said, yes. I replied, why did you call me, Mom? She asked, quote. Please, talk with me, Izuku. She said, I'm sorry, it was a slip-up and I didn't mean to put you on the spot. It will not happen again, I promise. I said, I'm not mad or anything, Izuku. I may have been a bit shocked at first, but I'm not mad. I just want you to explain. She said, throughout my entire life, you were one of the first people to ever believe in me, to acknowledge me. You did not see me as weak, nor did you pity me, you saw me as an equal. Not only that, but you helped me because you are kind, and I probably wouldn't have made it this far without you. You have been more of a mother to me than even my own mothers. So, to me you are the person I see as my mother. I said, tearing up a little. Quote. Sakura remained silent. I'm sorry, if you don't feel the same way. I will never bring it up, Aga. I started to say, but Sakura ran up to me and hugged me. The hug was warm and comforting. It made me feel safe. For the first time in a while, I felt like I could be a child for a bit. Izuku, you are the brightest kid I have ever seen. You have never given up and I respect that. You are willing to do anything to help your cause and the people who are with you, and I love you for that. I would be honored to be your mother and to have you as my son. She yelled as tears came out. For a while, we just stood there embracing and I felt cared for and safe. Eventually we came back inside, but with a new relationship. That of parent and child. Dabi and Tenka were obviously trying to hide that they were eavesdropping. A lot happened in the next 1.5 years. With the help of AFO, we were able to get a more secure base of operation. Sakura even came with us, but still owned her house to keep up appearances. At first, I did not want her to get more involved, but she was more stubborn than I was. Dabi became very skilled with his quirk and I bet could even give Endeavor a run for her money. He and Tenka were also clearly trying to hide their relationship. Speaking of Tenka, she now goes by Tamura Shigaraki and everyone refers to her as Shigaraki. This is because she and AFO became very close and AFO decided to adopt her. We came to find out that her Shigaraki's grandmother was actually the holder of the quirk OFA before Toshina. AFO eventually announced that Shigaraki would be the successor of her quirk. I was happy for her. Also AFO trained me in to help hone my skills and abilities. We started recruiting thugs and such, though very little of them actually knew of me and my power. There were some who we chose to allow, both men and females. First was Dr. Kyudai Garaki, as he was, like Kurogiri, faithful to AFO. He was a genius that AFO saw potential in. Even though his intellect could probably be unmatched, no one hired him because he was a man. He has been working on this special surprise we have for the UA students. He was the second man whose quirk that I unlocked. His quirk just reduced his age a bit, though it is an improvement as he looks straight up creepy with it. Then there is Gigantomachia. He is a project AFO, and Dr. Garaki are all working on it. Though, it will be some time before he is ready for his role. Next is Jin Bubegawara, or as we call him Twice. He was a good guy. Twice was also abused as a child, and because people demanded multiple things from him he developed a severe identity crisis. It was that and a severe head wound. His quirk was actually quite useful as he could copy anyone as long as he had their exact measurements. Though for some reason when he copied me, the copy may look like me but did not have any of my powers. He was also just a genuinely fun guy to have around. After him, came a knife-wielding maniac of a girl named Himiko Toga. Her quirk allowed her to copy the appearance to anyone perfectly as long as she consumed their blood. Her quirk also made her thirst for blood and gave her fangs. Toga's mothers did not like that very much and thought of her as disgusting. After being beaten too many times she killed them. I found her after she tried to cut me in an alleyway. At first, I was just going to kill her, but stopped once I noticed some similar-looking cuts on her wrist that were being hidden by her uniform. After hearing her story, I offered her to join me in my organization. She accepted as long as she was allowed to cut some people, which I didn't mind as long as she did kill anyone that was with us. Despite her crazy attitude, her eccentric personality was sort of refreshing. She became friends with Twice and her attempts to cut us became less and less frequent. After her, I met a struggling but very talented magician. People came to see his shows, but his bitch of a manager took most of the money and he was powerless to do anything as no one would legally defend him since he was a man. His mind was what really intrigued me as he was very good at staying calm and making quick thinking decisions. He accepted immediately after me asking him to join us. We call him Mr. Compress as his quirk allows him to compress anything organic or not into small blue marbles. It was a very useful quirk. I offered to have him kill his manager, but he had a better idea. He marbleized her and had Kurogiri send the marble to the bottom of the ocean. She would be alone with only herself forever as the compression doesn't put them to sleep, but places them in a dark void. While in that void, you may age, but you don't require any food or water to survive. So she would be alone and isolated for the rest of her life. After Mr. Compress, Dabi brought me a purple hair guy that was trying to copy the only widely known male villain, Stain. The guy called himself Spinner and almost died when trying to kill a hero. Dabi saved him though and offered him a position with us. Once I unlocked his quirk, his body changed into something that resembles a lizard. The scales increased his defense and strength. He could also walk on walls, which I thought was cool. After that, he introduced me to a girl called Magna. She also joined our cause and wanted to be accepted for who she was. When I unlocked her quirk, she was able to magnetize people around her. The poles of men and women are opposite when she magnetizes them. Next came Moonfish. He escaped prison after sharpening his own teeth, ripping the girl who was guarding his cell neck out. I thought he would be useful, so I unlocked his quirk. It was a useful quirk that strengthened his teeth and he could extend his teeth. I get the feeling that this is too far gone though. Next is a kid about my age that we call Mustard. I found him after I heard a gunshot. Apparently he shot a hero in the head after she started laughing at him. So he punched her and ran into an alley and shot her. He seems a bit arrogant and self-centered, but he does have a good shot. I found his quirk allows him to send out mustard gas after unlocking it, but the gas affects him too. So he has to wear a gas mask. I don't know what to really think of him as he does have a crazy glint in his eyes. I'll watch him for now. The last person is the one I like the least. We call him Muscular. Apparently he was an only friend of Moonfish before Moonshift was incarcerated. I'll say he certainly had drive, but he had trouble controlling him. Once he got his quirk he went out and killed 2 pro heroes. It took AFO and me a lot of work to hide him as we had to kill the witnesses or have AFO use a quirk to erase their memory and tamper with footage. We could not let people know that men are capable of having quirks. I wanted to kill him after that, but decided to give him another chance because he had a very strong quirk that allowed him to increase his muscles. Though he is on a very thin leash. We are currently preparing to leave for a meeting with some students. Shigaraki and Kurogiri, is everything ready? I asked. Yes, but why again do you need to wear that? Shigaraki said. I was wearing a thick hood with a plague mask. Also I had on a few layers of cloaks. This disguise hides my figure. We can't let people know yet about men having quirks. That is why we are only bringing low-grade thugs and not our vanguard squad beside you and me, Shigaraki. I said. Okay, I get it. Anyways, let's go. Ready to see your sister after 2 years. Shigaraki said and Kurogiri made a portal. Yes, I need to show her that her mother, All Might, is not as powerful as she thinks. Thanks again for getting the info on the class's schedule. Is the Nomu ready? I said. No problem, and yes the Nomu is ready. Shigaraki said. Alright then, let's go. I said and walked through the portal. I am coming with a vengeance and power. Ouroboros is coming. Izumi Pav. 2 years. It has been about 2 years since his death. The death of my brother Izuku. Over that time a lot has changed and a lot has happened. We held Izuku's funeral about a week after his death. For the memorial, we had to use his school ID picture as we did not have any recent photos of him. Only 10 people showed up. My mother's and I made up 3. The Bakugos made up another 3. I am pretty sure Katsuki's parents made her come. There was this short old girl named Sorahiko Tarina. She apparently trained my mother Toshina when she received One for All. Then there was an American guy, who brought his daughter. Apparently the guy's name was David Shield and he is an old friend of Toshina. His daughter's name is Melissa. I was a bit surprised that my mother had any male friends, but from what I was told he was pretty smart. The last person was a guy with white hair and was decently built. I couldn't make out the specific features of his face. I was not allowed to talk with him, nor was he allowed near the memorial until we left. My mother's did not tell me about him and told me to just forget him. The only contact we had was when I was staring at him. He looked up and met my gaze and then smiled. Shoka decided not to come because she said she would not be able to hold herself together if she came. I realized that no one from school, besides me and Katsuki, came to his funeral. I thought at least some of the boys would come, but none of them showed up. It was then that I figured out why. I was also the reason for this. Anyone who ever tried to help Izuku or be his friend was threatened by me. I isolated him from everyone that would ever show him kindness. My parents changed a bit. My mother Inko put her hero work to the minimum and stayed home most of the time. For the first year she either cried or sat in silence most of her time. Once the second year came, she picked back up on her hero work, but was still very distant. My mother Toshina did the exact opposite and put most of her effort towards her hero work. When her time limit ran for the day she would stay at the police to help with investigations. She decided to postpone me obtaining the One for All until the entrance exams. Katsuki did not change much, she was still loud and obnoxious, if not more. The only difference is that we are no longer friends. Shoka started breaking mentally and eventually closed herself off to everyone. This was because the same weekend as Izuku's funeral her older brother Tuya went missing. She now was cold towards everyone and kept to herself most of the time. We never rekindled our friendship. I changed quite a lot. At first, I was a complete mess, but eventually I started changing for what I think is the better. Instead of bullying the boys I started protecting them. The other girl eventually stopped beating them altogether because I would make sure they felt the pain that they were planning on inflicting themselves. The only girl who still bullied the boys was Katsuki, which caused us to fight a lot. I tried befriending the boys. At first, they were completely terrified of me and probably thought I was just tricking them. They eventually stopped running from me and no longer shook when I spoke to me. Unfortunately, they remained cautious of me. I never was actually able to befriend them, though I always felt that I was missing something or that I should have been doing something different. I was protecting them, but what else was I missing? Anyways, I am currently standing at the entrance to UA to take the entrance exams. This is the start, my start. Earlier today I received the OFA from my mother. I am going to train and become the hero everyone depends on, and I mean everyone. I just have to pass the entrance exam. To be honest, I am more worried about the written test. Up until 2 years ago I did really study much and had someone else do my work for me. I regret that a lot. My brother was so kind. I'm sure if I originally asked for help with my schoolwork then he would have helped me. Anyways, I studied like crazy, so I am hoping to get a decent grade. To get into the hero course, the written exam needs to be passed with at least a 70%. While I was thinking about the written exam, I wasn't watching where I was going and tripped. I closed my eyes and waited for impact, but nothing happened. Actually, I felt weightless. I looked up and saw a chestnut-haired girl. Ah, sorry, I should not have used my quirk on you, but it would have been bad luck if you tripped. Said, ah yeah, that's fine and thank you. My name is Izumi Yagi. I thanked and introduced myself. It was no problem and the name is Ochako Uraraka. Uraraka said, anyway, why don't we go in? The introduction for the exam is about to begin. I suggested and she agreed. I sat down and out came the pro hero present Mike. She introduced herself and asked if everyone was ready to begin. Mike yelled out a, yeah, and I'm pretty sure she was expecting everyone to say it back. There was silence in the room and I sort of felt bad. It would be too embarrassing to be the only one saying it back. She continued on with the introduction on the written and practical exams. In the middle of explaining the practical, a blue-haired girl stood up and interrupted present Mike. I'm sorry for the interruption, ma'am, but the sheet had 4 robots on and you explained the 1 to 3 PT robots. If this is a mistake then I am extremely disappointed that a school of this caliber would make such an error. As for you, the one with blonde hair and blue eyes. You look as though you're in your own world. If you are not here to pay attention, please do everyone a favor and leave so as to not disrupt anyone here. She said, sorry to say, but I believe you are the one disrupting people. You interrupted present Mike about a matter that she was probably going to explain and singled me out for no real reason. All you have done is wasted everyone's time. I say, slightly embarrassed and irritated. The girl is correct. I was going to explain the 4th robot. It is more of just an obstacle to overcome and worth no practical points. If anyone else has any questions or statements then please wait until the end of my speech. Present Mike said. The blue-haired girl didn't reply and just sat back down. I had just finished the written exam and am currently waiting with a group of other examiners to start the practical. The written exam was difficult. I had to guess on a lot of the questions. Currently, I am preparing myself to start the practical. I saw Uraraka, but decided to leave her alone to prepare herself. Soon the doors opened without warning and everyone started running in. I was the only one still there standing dumbfounded. What are you doing? Get in there. Do you think heroes always know when they are needed and are prepared? Present Mike yelled and I ran inside the exam city. I started destroying any robots I could get to. This was harder than it looks and I have not even figured out how to use OFA yet. My electro-telekinesis is strong, but it still can only do so much before my head starts killing me. I am tired and haven't been keeping track of my point, though I am pretty sure I am doing decently. I was taking a small break to relax my mind when I suddenly heard a loud rumble. I turned and saw the other examines running from this huge robot that was taller than all the buildings. An obstacle to overcome? Huh, bullshit. I was about to turn around and run when I heard a scream. Turning over my shoulder, I saw that Uraraka was trapped under some fallen rubble. At first I was terrified that she was going to die, but I quickly composed myself. I felt power in my legs and jumped towards the robot. Then as I was flying towards the robot I felt the same power go to my arm. I pulled my arm back and punched the robot as hard as I could. The robot was destroyed and suddenly I felt myself falling. It was then that I realized my legs and right arm were severely broken. I was falling too fast and too hurt to use my electro-telekinesis. I was going to die. I guess I deserve this, but I still started to cry. I closed my eyes and braced for impact, but yet again it did not come. What I got instead was a hard slap to the face and then I was floating. Apparently, Uraraka used her quirk on me at the last moment and saved me. After that we thanked each other and I was rolled to the school's infirmary to be healed by Recovery Girl. My mothers eventually came and were very worried. I was eventually let home and waited for the letter that would tell me of my rejection or acceptance to UA. 2 weeks later, my mother started barging on my room yelling, "It's here," over and over again. I took the envelope and went down to the living room to open it with both of my mothers. Once I opened it, I was surprised when a disc-shaped object came out and even more surprised to see a projection of my mother Toshina in All Might form. I looked at Toshina and she had a knowing smile on her face. Then the projection started to speak. "Hello, Izumi Yagi, it is I All Might and I am here to deliver your result for your entrance exams. You clearly had trouble with your written exam, but still managed to pass with a 72%. Your practical exam was quite something. It turns on practical points you obtained 60 points which would put you in Class 1B of the Hero course, but there was a secret point system. The Hero points were given to those you did heroic acts during the exam. By saving that young girl and destroying the 0-pointer you gained 70 Hero points. That brings your total to 130 points and puts you at the top of Class 1A of the Heroes course. Welcome to UA and remember, plus Ultra. Projection might finished and turned off. I made this weary high-pitched sound that was between a giggle and a scream. Basically, I was really happy. Congrats sweetie, you are going to be a hero. Inko said, yes, we are very proud of you. You deserve this. Toshina said, quote. Something wrong? Inko asked. No, sorry, it's just this is a lot to take in. I need to head to my room. I said. My mothers nodded in understanding. They probably thought that I was overshocked by finally progressing on my dream, but that wasn't what I was thinking at all. Did I deserve this? That question kept me up all night. Another 2 weeks went by and it was finally the first day of school. I got ready and quickly headed out for school. Taking a deep breath at the gate and I went in. It took me over 20 minutes to find Class 1A. The door to my homeroom felt even more intimidating than the gate. I took an even deeper breath and pushed the door open. My attention was instantly brought over to Katsuki arguing against the blue-haired chick that tried to single me out in the entrance exam introduction. During their argument, which consisted of Katsuki swearing and the blue chick looking offended, the blue chick introduced herself as Tenya Iida. Once Tenya noticed me, she quickly ran over to me while Katsuki just scowled. Hello, I am Iida said. I heard, Tenya Iida right. My name is Izumi Yagi. I interrupted. Right. Welcome to Class 1A. Iida said and left. She probably didn't want to interact with me too much because of what happened at the entrance exam. I looked around and felt a poke on my shoulder. Turning around I saw Uraraka. Yay, we're in the same class. She said. Yeah we are. Good to see you. I said. This is great. At least there's someone I can talk to. She said, and before I could reply someone else did. If you're here to make friends then you should leave right now. Quote ? Said. I looked behind and saw a giant yellow caterpillar. This caterpillar had a human face. She had long messy hair and dark circles under her eyes. Suddenly she drank a juice packet and got up. I was kinda disappointed that she didn't have any butterfly wings. Once she was up, I realized that she was actually in a sleeping bag. She walked to the front of the classroom and began speaking. Took you brats 8 seconds to shut up. That won't do at all. Said. Ma'am, who are you? Iida asked. Aizawa Shoto, also known as the Pro Hero Eraserhead. I will be your homeroom teacher for the next 3 years. 3 years is all we have to shape you immature arrogant problem children into strong respectable pro heroes. Now put on your gym outfits and meet me outside. Aizawa Sensei said. What about the opening ceremony, Sensei? Uraraka asked. The teachers of UA are given a lot of freedom to teach however they see fit. Heroes don't have time to waste on ceremonies, so we are going to skip it. Now hurry, you have 5 minutes to change and be out in the field. Aizawa Sensei explained. Everyone hurried and luckily everyone made it outside before the 5 minutes were up. None of us wanted to face the wrath of our teacher. Okay, so we are going to do simple physical tests like the ones you did in middle school. The only difference is that this time you will be allowed to use your quirks. Aizawa-sensei said. This is going to be so fun. A pink girl said. Fun? You think being a hero is going to be fun? How about the person who places last will be expelled? Aizawa-sensei threatened. You cannot do that, sensei. A girl with a black ponytail said. Yes, I can. As I said before, the teachers, including myself, are given a lot of freedom at this school. I expelled my entire class last year because none of them showed potential in becoming a hero. Aizawa-sensei clarified. No one talked back after that and we started the test. They were pretty standard tests and the only thing that made them exciting is that we were allowed to use our quirks. We were on the final test, which was the ball throw. I am just going to use my telekinesis to launch the ball as far as it can. I threw the ball, but for some reason my quirk did not activate. I looked over to our teacher and saw her eyes glowing red and her hair was standing up with her scarf floating. I want you to use the power you showed at the entrance exam when you destroyed the 0-pointer. She said. But sensei, I don't have full control over that POW, I started. Don't give me that excuse. I know what happened once you used it in the entrance exams. If the ability caused that much harm and you can't control it, then you cannot be a hero. If you don't use the power during your next throw, then you will be expelled immediately. She said. All right, I said. I need to think about this. If I break my whole arm, then I will probably fail as well. Then I got an idea. Pulling my arm back, I was preparing to throw when at the last second before the ball left me I activated OFA in my hand only. The result throw got me a score of 910. Instead of my whole arm, only most of my hand was broken and I could still make a fist with it. It would seem you do have some potential, she said with a slight smirk. Everyone continued with the exam until it finished. Mainly using my telekinesis, I was able to snag second place. Only being beaten out by a girl with a black ponytail. After that, sensei expelled the person in last place and told us that the day is finished. Thus bringing our class total to 13 students. Also that he will start hero class tomorrow. Since we had some time, I decided to get to know my classmates. The obvious are Katsuki and Shoka, then there is also Uraraka. Her quirk is that she can make anything she touches with the pads on her fingers weightless. Then there is Iida and was on the stricter side for personality. The engines in her calves were her quirk. Next is Momo Yaoyorozu with a very useful quirk that allows her to create inorganic objects as long as she knows the molecular structure of it. She uses her own body fat to create the objects as well. As a person she is strong-willed and able to communicate well with people. Also she likes to be referred to as Yaomomo. Mina Ishido is next and she is a very outgoing and eccentric girl. She is able to get along well with just about anyone. Her quirk allows her to secrete an acid substance which can or cannot harm people depending on if she wants to or not. The acid doesn't harm her, but it does turn her skin pink and iris black. For some reason, she also has horns. Then there is Suyu Asui. She insists on being called Sui. Her quirk gives her similar attributes to a frog. It may not sound interesting, but is actually very useful. As long as she does get too cold and starts to hibernate. Kyoka Jiro is a rocker chick with a sound amplifying quirk in the form of her earlobes being plugins. She has good hearing and can send out strong sound waves. Also there's an invisible chick named Toru Hagakuri. Basically she is invisible, and for being an invisible girl she certainly makes her presence known through her voice. There is also this weird girl named Eijiro Kirishima. She is obsessed with what she thinks is manly. Her hardening quirk severely ups her defense, while also increasing the power behind her hits. The last two are a chick named Unimportant who had a quirk that could paralyze up to 2 people at a time, and the other one is a girl named Nun Sential with a quirk that allowed her to see up to 5 seconds into the future. Over the next week a bit happened. During the first hero class, me and Katsuki were put against each other. Long story short, she tried and failed to blow me to bits and then I fucked her shit up. After that we had classroom elections and Iida and Yaomomo became class president and vice president. After that, there was a break-in by reporters, to which I was a bit surprised they managed to break in. Then Aizawa-sensei said we were going to the USJ. Everyone was excited because they thought she meant Universal Studios Japan, but she corrected everyone and stated it was the unforeseen simulation joint. We are currently on a bus ride there. What about you, Izumi? Sui asked. Sorry, I was in my own mind. I said. I asked what you think of boys. She said Yaomomo and Jiro looked flustered a bit, and so did Toru, I think. I guess they were embarrassed. I think they are treated unfairly and that should change. I said. I think you are mistaken, Izumi. Boys are the weaker one, and though that may be hard for them to accept, they can only live by being under our protection. We may get certain privileges, but that is because we protect and oversee them. Iida cut in. I did not expect that and was going to say something but was beat to the punch. That's not manly at all. Iida, give men credit. We should still see them as equals. Kirishima said. Boys are weak and that's just that. Both Ordant and Sentiel said in unison. Come on girls. I've got an older brother and I assure you they are not that weak. My brother helps me a lot. Mina interjected. You had a brother too. How do you guys get along? I asked. Well, yes, and since you said, too, I assume you have on as well. As for getting along, we may annoy each other to no end, but my brother and I respect each other. He even protected me from bullies when we were younger. He is very outspoken and that is one of the reasons I respect him so much. I am worried though because he can get in big trouble for speaking his mind and I don't see the fairness in that. Mina said. Oh, I see. Anyways, I had a brother. I said. Sibling can have a decent relationship and I ruined mine. Had. Oh, I'm so sorry. What happened to him if you mind me asking? Mina said. Well, he was murdered, but he also wasn't treated very kindly. Especially by the ones who should have been by his side. I said quietly. Mina was about to ask for questions, but Aizawa-sensei said that we were at the USJ. When we got off the bus we were greeted by the Pro Hero 13. Some of the girls started fangirling over her. I searched around for my mother as she was supposed to teach with us here. I hope she has not run out her time limit. 13 led up into the front of the USJ building. In the middle of her speech on how dangerous quirks can be, a large purple portal opened up. Out can a few head figures and a bunch more. The four most noticeable were a lady covered in purple mist who I assume opened the portal, a girl who looked a bit older than me with really bad skin and had hands covering her body, a giant female bird creature who was twice as buff as my mother, and lastly a completely cloaked person with a plague mask. The cloaked figure was the one that stood out to me for some reason. I wonder who she is. Izuku Pa. I stepped out of the portal. Beside me was Shigaraki, Kurogiri, and the secret weapon we have. Looking at my surroundings, I noticed the students who were supposed to be here. I noticed two of the students that didn't look that strong. There was a chick covered in white armor and with the way she stood one could tell she was the prime and proper type that was very strict. Next was a girl I recognized, Momo Yaoyorozu, daughter of a famous hero family. After her, there was a girl who sorta looked like a punk rocker chick. Also there was an invisible girl who was just wearing gloves and shoes. Is she naked right now? Whatever. After her, I saw a spiky redhead girl that had the word, manly, printed on her outfit. That was a little confusing, but I decided to move on. After that there was a girl wearing green that sorta resembled a frog. Also there was a girl whose outfit sorta resembles a pink astronaut. A girl in pink caught my attention as her outfit alone could tell me she was a very eccentric person. Then I saw both Katsuki and Shoka and believe me, I wanted nothing more at that moment than to tear them to shreds. Then I saw her, the person I hated most in this world. The bitch that betrayed and tortured me. Izumi, I make this promise to you that that year will be one of nothing but suffering for you. Eventually they saw me and my compatriots. The spiky redhead mistook us for fake villains. Her teacher, Eraserhead, corrected her and told them to get back as she rushed up. Brave, I will admit. I told the subordinates I had under my command to go and take care of her, as it was best to take care of a hero like Eraserhead with big groups. She was a master at one-on-one combat. Still she seemed to be faring well. Kurogiri, go spread out the children. The thugs we have gathered should be able to at least keep them busy. Hopefully, bitch might will eventually show up. I said, yes, Master Ouroboros, she said, and teleported there. She won a battle against the Pro Hero 13 and started fighting the kids and sending them away. At one point she was even pinned by Katsuki, but got out of it. Sadly, The chick dressed in armor got away as it seemed that engines on her legs were not a part of her armor, but actually her quirk. Kurogiri quickly came back. I apologize, master, but one got away. She said. Alright, that just means that we are on a time crunch. Stay close to me and Shigaraki, as we are going to need you in case things go sideways and we need to escape. I said. Yes, Master Ouroboros, she said, and I sighed as the word, master, made me feel uncomfortable. Izumi Pav, I was falling. I eventually hit water. My guess is that mist villain teleported me away. Looking at my surroundings, I noticed that several low-class thug villains were in the water. They were rushing me and I was panicking. I could not breathe and that was affecting my concentration. The villains were getting closer and one was about to take a bite out of me, but she was suddenly punched in the jaw. My savior then grabbed me and pulled me out of the water. We landed on a ship and I noticed that it was Sui that saved me. I would be dead otherwise. Thank you, I said. Don't mention it, I was just lucky that I landed in a place full of water. She said. Yeah, anyway we need a plan. I said. I don't think they know our powers. She said. Why would you think that? I asked. Because otherwise I wouldn't not have been sent into the zone that best suits me. She explained. That makes sense. Any ideas for a plan? I asked. I think so. She said. Let's hear it. I said. What if you use your electro-telekinesis to put a strong electric current in the water? The resulting electrocution should be enough to knock out the villain. They look as though they all have quirks based around water, so they should be able to breathe even if we knock them out. All I need to do is outspeed them all and take us to dry land. Once we are on dry land you can electrocute them. Just wait till we are out or I will be fried. I explained. Alright, I can do this, and don't worry, I'll wait till we're out of the water. Also I may be resilient to electric shock, but I am not immune to it. A shock this big will hurt me too if I am in the water. I said, and we enacted our plan. Sui and I jumped into the and she swam as fast as she could. She swam around everyone in a blur while holding on to me. We nearly were caught, but she made it. Once we were out of the water, I quickly sent a strong current of electricity into the water, effectively shocking and knocking out the enemy. Though, I did receive a piercing headache from doing that. I hope the others are doing okay. Third POV with Katsuki and Kirishima. Both Katsuki and Kirishima are currently fighting off the thugs together. They weren't having too much trouble because Katsuki was able to release the full power of her explosions. She did not have to worry about Kirishima because her quirk made it so she could withstand the blasts. Third POV with Shoka and Toru. Shoka was doing just fine freezing the villains. Despite a small bit of frostbite she was okay. Toru was able to knock out a few of them, but also had to watch out so Shoka didn't freeze. She kept yelling at Shoka, but it doesn't look like Shoka was listening. Once Shoka was done, she had, accidentally, froze Toru's leg and just left her there. At least she was alive. Third POV with Momo and Jiro. Beside a few bruises and cuts here and there, these two were doing alright in fending for themselves. Jiro was able to do major sound wave hits. Momo was able to make bandages for both herself and Jiro. She also was apparently good at fighting with a staff. Third POV with Uraraka. Uraraka was able to avoid getting teleported by making herself float above Kurogiri without being seen. She could have left, but opted to stay and tend to the wounded hero 13. Uraraka did not seem to notice a small portal opening up to take the hero 13. Mina Ashido POV. I was alone. After being separated from everyone else, I was surrounded by villains. They all did not look that tough, but they were high in numbers. I have been fighting them for a bit now and I was starting to get tired. I had to limit myself so as to not kill them. Come on, girl, just give up and I promise I will make skinning you alive as painless as possible. Your pink skin will make a nice pretty and cute quilt for me, said a villain. She had knives for fingers and also opted to wear a striped green and red sweater. Huff huff, fuck off, I said. I continued to fight and took out a lot of them. Still I was outnumbered by 8-1. Suddenly they all jumped on me and pinned me down. The ITHC with knife hand suddenly leaned over me and showed her finger knives to me. I was going to die. I don't want to die. I want to see my family again. My parents, my brother. I snapped. I don't want to die. I yelled and released my most potent acid. The villains screamed as suddenly they were clover in acid that was easily melting through their skin. The bitch that threatened to skin was currently having her skin melted off. They eventually all died and I just laid there exhausted and too tired to move. Third Pav with Ordent and Sentiel. These two were having the most trouble out of everyone. They were tired and extremely exhausted. Eventually the villains were able to separate the two of them. Ordent was having trouble and in a bad position. She was up against 7 villains. The limitations of her quirk made so she could only immobilize 2 of them at a time. This left her to fight off the other 5 villains and her hand-to-hand combat was subpar at best. Eventually they overpowers her. Once caught, the villains wasted no time in torturing her. First they cut off her hands and that apparently freed the other TW villains that were paralyzed. Once her quirk was out of the way they started breaking the bones in her arms and legs. Her screams did nothing to deter the villains. Once the villains had had enough they cut open her stomach and pulled out her intestines. They used the intestines to suffocate her by wrapping them around her neck. Once she died the villains went after Sentiel. Sentiel was doing a bit better as she used her quirk to dodge and counter most of the villains. That became harder though when more villains came after they finished with her friend. Once she saw what happened to Ordent her mind started to collapse which made her movements sloppy. This resulted in her getting captured. The villains started beating her as she begged and begged. Eventually they decide to take care of her quirk. One villain used her fingers and plucked out both of her eyes. Then to rub it in further they made Sentiel eat her own eyes. After that they opted to cut off one of her legs. Then the villains dragged her and tossed her onto the body of Ordent. They left her there as even though she was still alive, they knew she was forever broken. Izuku Pav, Shoto Aizawa, aka Eraserhead, was currently fighting and winning against 10 thugs at once. From what information I had gathered on her, she is an underground hero that hates the spotlight. It seems she is also one of the very few good heroes that care for everyone equally, even the puts up an uncaring front. Also she is a great martial artist and fighter given how she is handling the thugs we gathered. It is most impressive too since her quirk doesn't increase her power at all, and her quirk does not affect mutation-type quirks. She is actually someone I can respect, but she is currently in the way of my goal. I will have to send it in to deal with her. I nudged Shigaraki and made a sign for her to send it in. Nomu, take care of the one. Shigaraki said while pointing at Eraserhead. Eraserhead suddenly saw what looked to be a giant 7 feet female muscular bird creature coming towards her. Before she could react, the creature punched her into the ground and proceeded with a beating. The hero tried fighting back, but was easily outmatched. The creature pinned her down and continuously smashed her head into the ground. Shigaraki then motioned for the creature to stop and walked over to talk with the injured hero. Well, Ms. Hero. You put on the show first with those low-class thugs, but you weren't so tough with Nomu here. Were you? Shigaraki said. Don't think you have won yet, villain. Soon help will arrive, Eraserhead said. That help would do much as Nomu here was designed to specifically take down All Might. Shigaraki said and then started to disintegrate Eraserhead's elbow. While Shigaraki and Eraserhead were conversing, I noticed 2 individuals hiding behind a bush. Once of which was a person that I held deep hatred for. Izumi Pav, Sui and I were sneaking around avoiding the villains. We eventually made it back to where the villains came from. I noticed Sensei was fighting off multiple thugs. As we were just about to jump in, a monster came and started to beat the living shot out of Sensei. The power it showed was astonishing. Eraserhead saw us during her beating and signaled to stay put. That's when I noticed someone was watching us. I noticed the villain with a plague mask looking at us. To be more specific, she was looking at me. I shuddered as I saw through the eye holes of the mask. What I saw were white eyes that seemed to glow and they were filled with anger, resentment, and just plain hatred. I froze at the gaze of the villain and felt as though I would die from her gaze alone. Suddenly the villain signaled towards the villain with silverish hair and covered in hands who was currently talking with Sensei. The villains with hands looked back at the plague mask villain who then motioned towards us. When the other villain saw us, she started walking towards us. Why, what do we have here? A couple of eavesdroppers. That's not very heroic, you know. She said. You know nothing of heroics, you villain. I said. TCH bitch, you should talk to your elders with respect. The name's Shigaraki. The villain now known as Shigaraki said. You don't deserve any respect, evildoer. I retorted. Maybe you will rethink your attitude once your friend here is turned to dust. Shigaraki said and reached to grab Sui's face, but nothing happened. Suddenly Shigaraki started laughing. You really are an amazing hero, Eraserhead. Shigaraki said. Looking back at Sensei, I noticed her staring at us with her quirk activated. It didn't last long though, as the creature slammed her heart back down in the concrete. As Shigaraki was preparing to turn Sui to dust again, I prepared to attack myself. I put my arm at 100% and went to punch Shigaraki. What resulted was a large shockwave and burst of air as I released my punch. When the dust settled, I was surprised to see the creature, that not a second ago was pinning down Sensei, had blocked my punch. Not only that, but the creature looked as though there was no damage done to it. My arm on the other hand was throbbing and broken to all hell. Good job Nomu. Now time to finish this brat. Shigaraki said and reached to finally kill Sui. Sui was going to die and I couldn't save her. I can't save anyone. As Shigaraki was about to make contact with Sui's face, she was yet again interrupted. The entrance of the USJ burst open, creating a lot more dust. Relief flooded into me as I knew who has came to save us. Izuku Pav. She is finally here. I knew she would come. I cannot wait to see her struggle. The one who preaches that anyone can be a hero, but on the inside is just as disgusting as the rest of the. All Might is here and she is no longer smiling. Bitch Might Pav. I burst through the door of the USJ. I was running late because my time limit was almost up for the day, and on the way here I ran into young Iida. She told me about the situation at the USJ. I instructed her to inform the rest of the teacher and went here myself. My child was in danger and I was not going to lose another one of my children. Immediately I noticed a severely injured Eraserhead, then I noticed my daughter and another classmate of hers surrounded by villains. Using my speed, I rushed to the three, picking them up, and moved them to a safer location. Once they were out of harm's way, I glared at the villains. The final boss has finally showed up. Took you long enough. A villain covered in hands said. Your dastardly plans end now, villains. Do you know why? Because I am here. I said. Would you look at that? The big boss even said her boss quote. She said. Give up now because you are outmatched. I demanded. I don't think so. Nomu killed her, she said, and this big bird creature rushed forward. We started exchanging blows, but something felt off. I heard the villain start laughing. Ha 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 ha. Nomu has 3 quirks. Super strength, super regeneration, and shock absorption. She said. That is certainly trouble, and we continued to exchange blows. Another villain made out of mist joined, but with young Shoka used her ice to separate the mist villain from me. I got an idea and started to push myself as far as I could. Why are you continuing to fight? It is futile, so just hurry up and loose. She said. You said the creature has shock absorption, correct? Not nullification. Then there is a limit to how much she can take. I stated, and we and this Nomu continued our battle. Each punch was getting stronger than the last until finally I was overpowering the beast and preparing my final blow. I reeled my fist back and put my remaining power into this last punch. Plus Ultra. I yelled and sent Nomu flying out of the USJ building. I won. I may be exhausted, exuding smoke, and barely holding my form, but I won. I looked at the villains. It is over. You have lost, I said. The villain I spoke to looked pissed up, but stopped once the other villain with a plague mask motioned for her to calm down. She suddenly started walking towards. There was no fear nor hesitation in her stride as this villain walked towards me. She got right in front of me and looked deep into me. I could see only negative emotions with a small bit of sadness in their eyes as they stared right into my soul. You exhausted all your power, All Might, she said with a very deep voice. She must be using a voice changer. My bluff was called. You were seen as this noble hero that could do no wrong, but we both know that's not true. She said with the venom in her sentence increasing with every word. Who are you? I asked. I am someone who you have hurt and betrayed. Someone who despises you with every ounce of their being. You may refer to me as Ouroboros. Ouroboros stated. I could feel the hatred this villain had for me was personal. But I could not tell who she was or make out any distinctive features beside her white eyes. If you hate me so much, then does that mean you are going to kill me? I questioned. Kill you? No, All Might, or should I say Toshina Yagi, your death will come, but not today. You will suffer much before your death as you are, like most of them. A fake hero, Ouroboros said. I was surprised she knows my name. How do you know who I am? I inquired. Let's just say you had an obligation towards me, but failed in that obligation. Ouroboros said. If you didn't want me dead, then why attack here? I asked. It is all a part of your suffering. You see, you got here too late. One of your students is already dead and another is injured beyond repair. Ouroboros said, and I went white as a ghost. Not only that, but while you were fighting with Nomu here, I grappled another person these so-called hero students forgot about. Ouroboros said as they walked towards the mist villain who was currently holding another hero hostage. 13 was currently behind, held against her will, and looked to be unconscious. 13. I yelled. Good job Kurogiri for grabbing this trash. Ouroboros said. You don't have to do this. Please. I begged as Ouroboros put their foot on 13's head and prepared to crush it. The almighty All Might, the one who always smiles, is begging me, pleading with me to not kill the false hero. This bitch preaches about using quirks in a safe way, but she has killed many innocents with her quirk. These innocents all happened to be men, and there were never any repercussions. I want you to watch as I kill this bitch and you fail to save her. Ouroboros said and raised their foot over her head. No, I pleaded as Ouroboros slammed their foot down, crushing 13's head and killed her. I want you to remember this day as the day you failed, All Might. This was just our debut. Remember who did this, for I am Ouroboros and we are the League of Villains. Ouroboros stated. Then a portal opened up and Ouroboros, the villain, covered in hands, and Kurogiri went in and left. Once they left, everything hit me. I failed. Izumi Pav. My mother failed. Not only that, but I just watched one of my favorite heroes die and found out another one of my classmates, my friend, is dead. Soon the rest of the heroes show up and take control of everything. They wheeled out the corpse of 13. Then they found a beaten, eyeless, one-legged Sential over the corpse of Ordent. Ordent was killed in a very gruesome and painful way. Sential was rushed to the hospital, but we were told that her injuries were irreversible, as even though she will live, she will need to be in constant physical and mental care. Not only that, but one of my other classmates, Mina, was found surrounded by the corpses of thugs. She was seemingly driven to use her quirk in a deadly way to survive. My mothers were too busy with hero work to comfort me. After everything that happened, one thought came through my mind. I wish my brother Izuku was here to hold me. Izuku Pav. I walked out of the portal into the small bar that was our hangout. The first attack, and the League of Villains debut, was over, and now everything was set into motion. I was feeling a lot of things at this moment. Letting out an exasperated sigh, I slumped down on the bar stool. Shigaraki looked at me with a thoughtful look. You all right? She asks. Yes, it's just that it has been more than 2 years since I last saw them. It took everything I had not to break down then and either cry or go on a killing spree. I said, I understand. My grandmother only came to visit me once when I was put into that correctional institute. When she came to visit, I saw the pain in her eye and knew she didn't want me to be in there. That didn't matter though, as she was the one who put me there. She didn't even try to talk with me when she found me in some alleyway. I was beaten by her and treated like some disposable object that needed to be put in its place. All I felt was furious and sadness. During our one meeting, she constantly put the blame on me even though I was just a child. She died shortly after, and the only regret I had was that I could not do it myself. She said, and was practically crying at the end. Dabi came over and started comforting her. Yeah, it infuriates me as well. Izumi and All Might went one with their lives and didn't even have the decency to admit their own wrongdoings after I died. They are all selfish pricks with a false sense of righteousness because they have power, heroic power. I say after that I got up and headed to my room as I needed to nap to calm myself. It has been just over a week since the attack happened. We celebrated a bit, and a couple days ago we celebrated Dabi's birthday. Shigaraki and Dabi also released their relationship to everyone. Naturally Sakura and I were very happy for the two. AFO was happy as well, but made sure to scare Dabi by saying that if he hurt the girl she considers a daughter, then she would cut off a certain part of his body and feed it to him. A shiver went down all the males' spines after she said that. Currently I was watching the news and they started to talk about the USJ incident. I motioned for everyone to come and watch. Hello, this is Poppy Harlow here to talk about that latest villain attack that happened at the Unforeseen Situation Joint, USJ for short. It happened just last week and resulted in several injuries and deaths. We have it from a credible source that All Might was there and was able to beat the most powerful villain, but was outnumbered by the other villains. Though in a stroke of luck the villains, now known as the League of Villains, left stating this was just their debut. The group was led by a villain who calls herself Ouroboros. Apparently this is a new villain as there is no prior information on her and even her appearance is a mystery. All we know is the iris of their eyes is a bright white. Ouroboros was partnered with another semi-known small-time villain known only as Shigaraki. Their attack on the USJ resulted in several injured students. The most severe of injuries were given to the teacher and one student. The teacher was beaten badly, but is suspected to make a full recovery. The student though will apparently have to quit their pursuit in being a hero. We could not get all the details, but the girl was tortured to the point that we will never be fully recovered, both physically and mentally. Now on to the deaths. One of the students was killed and we are unable to release her name, but we do have the details on her death. Apparently her hands were dismembered and she received several broken bones. Though she died after being strangled with her own intestines. The other death was our beloved hero 13. Apparently her head was crushed right in front of All Might and several other students by Ouroboros herself. The reporter said, "Looks like we made a name for ourselves." I said looking proud. Shigaraki looked slightly peeved though. Semi-known. And, small time. That bitch, she said pissed off. It's all right honey, I will burn that reporter to ash if you want. Dabi pitched in. It's romantic that you would do that for me. She said, would you two get a room? I said, and before they could respond the reporter continued. Speaking of deaths, the heroes and Ua weren't the only ones to have lost members. Apparently a group of villains died in a horrendous way as their bodies were melted by acid produced by one of the students. That student's name is Mina and I have to wonder why an inspiring hero would do such an act. I also wonder why Ua would let such a villainous kid into their school. The reporter said, we remained silent for a bit. Wow, these people will villainize anything and anyone but themselves. Seriously, the girl clearly just defended herself. Shigaraki said as it's not that we cared much, but still this is the kind of thing we want to fix where people aren't judged for things they cannot control. This could be useful. I said, what do you mean? Dabi asked. Let's just say that we might be getting a new member soon. I said, Izumi Pav, it has been over a week since the USJ attack and a lot has happened. After the attack everyone was questioned and we got a week off school. I went to 2 funerals. The first was for the pro hero number 13 as it was a big public funeral with people lining the streets. Due to my family, I was able to be near the front and see the casket. I wanted to cry as she was one of my inspirations and what Ouroboros accused her of couldn't be true. The next funeral was Ordent. Her funeral consisted of her family and our class. Excluding Sentiel because she was still in the hospital. I only visited her once as apparently her mental state was broken and her injuries will result in a life where she will be in need of constant care. In other words, she won't be a hero and no longer will be attending classes. Then there was that newscast a couple days ago. UA has apparently been under severe pressure since especially after everyone found out about what Mina did. Today was the first day we were back. I was sitting at my desk all gloomy like the rest of the class. We were all wondering who was going to walk through that door as Sensei was pretty hurt. Then we were all surprised when a mummified Sensei walked in class. Morning, brats, Aizawa said. Sensei, shouldn't you be resting now? I said, thanks to many torturous hours with Recovery Girl I am still able to teach. Anyways, don't relax just yet as the fight isn't over. Aizawa said, more villains. The whole class said in unison. No, we need to start preparing for the sports festival. Aizawa said and everyone felt relieved that it was just a normal school thing. But ma'am, do you really think that's a good idea with the recent attack? Iida asked. That is exactly why we are doing it. We need to show the public that we are still strong and we are not afraid of the villains. Anyways, that's it for today as you will have 2 weeks off to prepare. Shoka and Toru, I need you two to stay back as we need to have a discussion. Aizawa said. Everyone got up to leave, but we found ourselves blocked in the doorway by students from other classes. I immediately guessed that they were here to scout us up for the sports festival as all classes are allowed to participate. Move it extras, Katsuki said, being brash as usual. You are UA students and you should know better than to block the hallways. Iida said, chopping her hands. So you are the famous Class 1A, huh? You all seem like a bunch of egotistical jerks to me, said a girl that sorta looks like a miniature Aizawa with purple hair. The fuck you say, Katsuki said with a tick mark on her head. Sai, I'm just here to inform you that the school uses the sports festival to re-evaluate the students' class placements. That being said, if someone is moved up to the hero course, then someone will have to be moved down from the hero course, she said, and left along with the rest of the group. I think they all just declared war on us. I said. They're just weak extras. I can take them on any day, Katsuki said as she left. Eventually everyone, including me, left. Well, expect for the two asked to stay after. Third Pav with Aizawa, Shoka, and Toru. Do you know why I asked you two to stay behind? Aizawa asked. No, Shoka replied, while Toru looked down. Miss Todoroki, do you remember what you did to Miss Hagakure at the USJ? Aizawa asked. Shoka asked. Hagakure told us that you purposely froze her leg and left her by herself. Aizawa said. That is correct, ma'am. Shoka said. Why would you do such a thing? Aizawa asked. So she would not get in anyone's way. She is weak and I thought that would be the best course of action. Shoka explained. Now listen here, girl. You are not a hero yet, nor was that action heroic in the slightest. You realize that Hagakure's leg was severely frostbitten, and had we not got there in time she would have lost her leg. Todoroki, you do not have the right to make such a decision. I want you to apologize to Miss Hagakure now. Aizawa said. TCH, fine. I apologize for freezing your leg, Toru. Shoka half-heartedly apologized. Thank you for your apology, Todoroki. Toru said, looking down while shaking as she still remembered how scared she was. That isn't all, Miss Todoroki. I wanted to have you expelled for this, but due to who you're related to you got lucky. Aizawa said. I see, can I go now? Shoka asked as she thought this was over. No, Miss Hagakure may leave, but you will stay. You may be the daughter of the number 2 here, but I am not going to let you get away with this. I am still the teacher and I will get final say. If an incident like this happened again, then you have my word that your aspiring hero career will be over. Aizawa explained as Toru left. I see, Shoka said as she glared at her sensei. Not only that, but you will need to be punished. For the next 2 weeks you will come here every day and make sure the school stays clean. Not only that, but you will also help with the setup and cleanup of the sports festival. Aizawa finished, and before Shoka could respond, Aizawa handed her a broom and dust band. If you skip any days or lays around on your punishment, then I will expel you. That is a promise, Aizawa said as she left, leaving a pissed off Shoka. Mina Ashido Pav, class just ended and I feel isolated. Ever since that newscast a couple days ago, everyone looks at me like I'm some kind of monster. On the way to school today, people steered clear of me on both the subway and the street. In class, my friends barely spoke to me. As we were all leaving, class 1 tried to get them to train with me, but they all gave some kind of excuse. I could understand some of them, but I know some others just did not want to be seen with me. Even now, as I am leaving the school for the 2 weeks of preparation, the other students are avoiding me and whispering about me. They think I cannot hear them, but I can. Look, it's that girl that killed those people. I heard she mercilessly melted them into goo. Apparently the people she killed begged for mercy, but she didn't listen. I can't believe the school is allowing a villain like her to stay as a student. Monster, murderer, villain. I ran out of school as fast as I could. I couldn't stand to hear about them. As I ran straight home, ignoring everyone and everything else. Once I got home, I slammed the door and started hyperventilating. Eventually I broke down into a crying fit. Hey Mina, are you alright? Asked. I looked up and saw my older brother Hideaki. Quote. I stayed silent. Talk to me, sis, he says. Do you think I'm a monster? I asked. What? No, of course not. He answered. B but IK killed them. I said, is this about what happened at the USJ? He asks, yes, I can hear what people are saying about me. I said, Sai listen, you are not a monster. You explained to me, the police, and the heroes about what happened then. You just defended yourself and did nothing wrong. If our parents were home, then they would agree. You're my sister and I love you and will certainly stand by you through anything. He says, thanks bro. I said and hugged him. Over the next 2 weeks I went through a lot. Whenever I went outside people would mostly just stay clear of me. Some would even harass me. The bold would throw trash and stuff at me on the street. I have even been kicked out of stores. That is why I mostly stayed home, because at least my family still believed in me. They were the only ones, as most of my classmates would ignore my messages. The festival was tomorrow and hopefully the excitement for it will put this all behind me. Izumi Pav. Currently, I along with the rest of the students from our grade were gathered in the middle of the stadium for the sports festival. I looked at the stadium and noticed something. The people were separated into 3 sections. The first section was just for women. This section was the closest to the field and allowed them to clearly see all the action that was going to take place in the festival. The second section was for both men and women, or to be more specific, it is for women who took men with them to watch the festival. I saw Katsuki's parents in that section. The third and final section was for men. The section was the farthest away from the field. This gave a clear depiction of just how separated our society is. Just as I was thinking this, I heard a whip sound and saw a familiar hero on the stage. It was the R-rated hero Midnight. Whip, are you all ready to start? Midnight said, yeah. Both the students and crowd say in unison, all right them, but before that we are going to get to hear the speech from this year's representative. Please give it up for Katsuki Bakugo. Midnight said and Katsuki walked up onto the stage. I would have been the representative, but I turned it down because I wanted to focus on controlling OFA more. I just wanted to say that I am going to win. Katsuki said as she calmly left that stage. Quote quote. That moronic bitch, I thought, as all hell broke loose. The other students started yelling and saying crude remarks at Katsuki and the whole of class 1A because of course we had to get thrown into her bullshit. After everything settled down, Midnight started again. Well, that was something. Anyways, on to the first round. This year the first round will be an obstacle course. The student will have to race though the course and only the first 42 will be put into the first round. Now students line up. Good. Now get ready. 3, 2, 1, go. Midnight yelled and everyone started running. Immediately a lot of the contestants were frozen to the ground as Shoka froze them to the ground. I used my electro-telekinesis to dodge the ice and sprinted as fast as I could, just being able to make it past the 3 giant 0-pointers from the entrance exam. Eventually the robots fell onto Kirishima and only Chick from class 1B. They survived though due to their quirks. The next part had pitfalls with nothing but ropes to get across. If students had quirks that allowed them to fly or glide, then they would be able to easily get past this. My electro-telekinesis isn't strong enough to constantly hold my body in the air, but I was able to use it to help keep my balance as I ran on the ropes. So I didn't have to worry about falling off. I saw this girl from the support course also going across the rope spouting something about her babies. The final part was a minefield. While running I was passed by both Shoka and Katsuki. It was clear I would win if I just tried to catch up with them, and the other students were catching up fast. So I focused and used my electro-telekinesis to grab them both and push them to the ground right on top of the mines. Once that was done, started running on a path of ice courtesy of Shoka, who used it to try and stay ahead of Katsuki. I was able to get past them as I continuously held them down and dragged them across the mines. My head was killing me and I could feel my nose bleeding. Eventually I couldn't hold them anymore. At that point I just reached the tunnel and could see the finish line. Due to my dizziness I couldn't use my quirk to speed myself up. They were catching up and I just ran as fast as I could. Eventually I passed the finish line first by just a hair, followed very closely by Shoka in second and Katsuki in third. Eventually the other students started passing. I used this time to relax myself and my quirk. Eventually Midnight started talking about the second event. Alright, as said before, Only the first 42 contestants will be allowed to pass this round. The next round will be a cavalry battle. The groups will consist of 3 to 4 individuals. The goal is to steal the other team's headbands and steal their points. The total number of points each team starts with will vary because the members of each team will decide how many points they have. For example, the student who placed 42nd will be worth 5 points, 41st will be 10 points, 40th will be 15 points, and so forth. The only exception will be the first place winner. They will be worth 1 million points. At the end, the 4 teams with the most points will advance to the final event. Now gather your teams as you have 15 minutes until the event starts. Midnight explained. I suddenly felt like I was a trapped bunny surrounded by a bunch of hungry wolves. Most people avoided me due to how much my points were worth. Luckily Uraraka came and joined up with me. Then there was that support girl from the pitfall who came and said her babies would be a great help. Apparently her babies refer to her inventions. Her name is Mei Hatsume and she is quite the eccentric person. I was able to get another one literally named Random Chick from the general course to join as well. I had a team and I was ready to win this. Midnight is about to start the event and I am ready. Third POV in an alleyway. During the time of the cavalry battle, a severely injured hero lays in an alleyway. That hero is Ingenium, also known as Tessa Iida. She is the elder sister of Tenya Iida. Above her is the silhouette of a man with a red scarf and white mask on. He had a lone sword on his back and the hero knew he had plenty of hidden knives. This man was Stain. He was the only widely known male villain in the world. He is currently gazing down at the paralyzed hero. You won't get away with this, you villain. Ingenium said. I have been getting away with it for years, false hero Ingenium. Stain said calmly. Just finish me then. Ingenium said, defeated as she couldn't move. No, I won't. I need to make you an example. So I won't kill you. Stain said. Then what are you going to do? Ingenium asks. Just going to make sure that the world knows what will happen to false heroes. Say goodbye to your career as a false hero. Stain said as he took his sword. Ingenium's screams weren't heard till it was too late and the damage that was done to her was irreversible. Stain was long gone by the time someone showed up. Izumi POV. And that's the end of the cavalry battle. Midnight said. I let out a breath of relief as I knew I made it. I lost my headband, but at the last second I was able to use my electro-telekinesis to grab some headbands. Then Midnight continued the results. In the first place we have Team Todoroki. They consisted of Shoka Todoroki, Tenya Iida, Momo Yaoyorozu, and Tetsuna Tokage. In second place we have Team Bakugo. They consisted of Katsuki Bakugo, Eijiro Kirishima, Mina Ishido, and Pony Tsunotori. In third place, we have Team Shinso. That team consisted of Hitosha Shinso, Abara Shiozaki, Tetsuidetsi, and Filler Girl. Finally in fourth place we have Team Yagi. This team consists of Izumi Yagi, Ochako Uraraka, Mei Hatsume, and Random Chick. The brackets show who fights who as well as the order they will fight in. Now you students have an hour lunch break. Use the time to eat, rest, and most importantly plan your strategy. Midnight finished. During lunch I was pulled away by Shoka. What do you need, Shoka? I asked. You know about how I was born, correct? She asked. I do. You were born through a quirk marriage. I answered. A quirk marriage consisted in Shoka's case consisted of her mother Endeavor buying Rei Todoroki, her other mother, and implanting Enja's egg into Rei to get a combination of their quirks. I just wanted to make sure that you understand why I won't use my fire side to fight you. She explained. I understand, I said, and we both left. I am currently on stage against my first appointment, Hitosha Shinso. I was already warned about her quirk, so I know how to keep my mouth shut in this fight. As I ran towards her, once she realized I was not answering, she lost it. It must be so nice to be born with a heroic quirk. I bet you had a happy spoiled childhood. She yelled as I flipped her out of the stage. Once I was declared the winner, I decided to answer her. You're right, I said. Huh, she said. You're right, I was lucky. I was born, given a quirk that I did nothing to deserve. I grew up spoiled and rotten. I did some awful things because of my own ego as well. Some of the blame can be put on my mother's, but I hold most of it. I said. Why are you telling me? She asks. Because I used to put someone I considered powerless down. I thought they couldn't be a hero and I constantly bullied them. Even though I did that, I still cared for the person. Though my ego and self-pride never let me do what was right. In the end I lost the person forever. I am telling you this because I want you to know that I believe you can become a great hero. Your quirk can be used in many heroic ways. Just don't give up cause I believe in you. I said and could see her shocked expression. I left, but I know I heard a quiet, "Thank you," from the girl. The next battle was between Shoka and Filler Girl. Filler Girl was frozen completely and lost the battle almost immediately. The battle of theirs was between Abara and Tetsuna. It was a decent fight that resulted in a close win for Abara. Then the most hilarious battle was between Iida and Hatsume. Hatsume basically used Iida to show off her babies to the businesses in the crowd, like the support agencies. After that, Hatsume simply stepped off the stage, forfeiting the match as well as leaving a very pissed off Iida. Next was the battle between Mina and Filler Girl. Mina Pav. As I stepped on stage, people instantly started booing and insulting me. Get that villain off the stage. Boo. Why hasn't she been kicked out yet? Just leave, you murderer. Monster. Beat her ass, Filler Girl. The only thing that kept me going was the cheers from my brother and parents from the middle section. They were the only thing that was keeping me from breaking apart. Though I could feel my walls breaking. Then Filler Girl started speaking. This is great. If I beat a villain like you, then I will be a shoo-in to replace you in the hero course. Get ready to experience what a true hero is, she said. Our fight began, but it didn't last long, as her quirk only allowed her to turn her hands into demon claws. I was able to use my acid to keep her at a distance and quickly exhausted her. Then I was able to force her out of the ring. I had won, but it didn't feel like it. It was almost completely quiet for a straight minute after the announcement that I won the fight. The only noise that was heard were the cheers from my family. Eventually the bunch of boos came at me. More people were insulting me, some even accused me of cheating. Some bitch even threw a tomato at me. I hurried out so no one would see the tears welling up in my eyes. Izumi Pav. I felt bad for Mina, but there wasn't much I could do. If I cheered for her like her family, the crowd would just boo me next time I go on stage. Anyways, the next fight was between Yaomomo and Pony. I almost forgot Yaomomo was a beast with her staff. She quickly defeated Pony, though Pony was able to land a decent attack or two. The next fight was between Kirishima and Tetsuya. Due to the similarities of their quirk, then ended in a draw. To fix that, they just had an arm wrestle in which Kirishima won. The final battle was between Katsuki and Uraraka. This was probably the most exciting out of the first rounds, as Uraraka was able to bring down a meteor shower on Katsuki. In the end though, Katsuki won due to Uraraka fainting due to exhaustion. It was time for my next fight. This was me against Shoka. We both walked on stage and faced each other. Her ice was powerful, and with me having trouble with OFA, then this was going to be a tough fight. Especially since I still have a killing headache since I have to use my electro-telekinesis a lot during the first two events. I am defendable, going to have to break bones in this fight. Luckily though, she won't be using her fire. I understand why that is, but still it does seem like a waste. I've got a plan though, and if I am right then it should end this fight pretty quickly. You ready? She asked. Bring it, I said. We charged at each other. She sent a wave of ice at me which I barely dodged. I kept getting closer and closer until I saw it. A straight open path between her and me. I pushed OFA into one of my legs and launched towards her at blinding speeds. Once I was close enough, I put all of OFA in my arm and punched her in the gut. She launched backwards, but had enough sense to use ice to try and negate herself from being punched off the stage. The ice was continuously shattered as the strength of my punch was incredible. It was slowing down though, and I was hoping she would be out of bounds when she stopped. Eventually the dust cleared and I saw her leaning against the ice at the edge of the stage. She was still in bounds. I had lost, or at least that what I thought, when suddenly her body flopped over. My punch to her gut must have been so powerful that it knocked her out. I was announced the winner. Both me and her were taken to the infirmary as both my arm and leg were broken. I used the TV there to watch the next matches. The match after mine and Shoka's was between Iida and Abara. Iida used her incredible speed to quickly dodge Obara attacks and take her out with a quick kick to the stomach. After which I saw Iida get pulled away by some teachers and apparently told her some shocking news. The next match is between Mina and Yaomomo. Mina Pav. I walked up on stage and like last time I was berated with insults and boos. I looked over at Yaomomo as she mouthed, "Sorry," and prepared her staff. My mind was a mess that I couldn't focus in the fight. If I tried harder then maybe I could have melted her staff. It's just that my mind started breaking down. It broke down further as the crowd cheered at me being beaten. They cheered so loud I couldn't hear my family. That's right, get her. Serves the bitch right. Beat that villain down. When it was over I just laid there on the ground. Eventually I got and walked out and ignored everyone. I left the stadium. Once I was clear I walked to an alleyway and burst out crying. I was hyperventilating and pretty sure I was having a panic attack. My family is probably looking for me, but I'm just a monster. I'm nothing but a murdering monster. I say out loud to no one in particular. I don't agree with this. You seem like a lovely person. I looked up and stared in shock. The person in front of me was Ouroboros. I could move. I was so afraid. Then I realized if she just kills me then everyone will be happy. If you are going to kill me then please just get on with it. You would be doing everyone a favor. I said, I am not here to kill you, honest. I just want to help you. She said, help me. I said skeptically, yes, now why don't we have a chat and see what we can do? She said, Izumi Pav. After Mina's defeat I felt kinda down. Even Yaomomo looked depressed after having to beat her friend. After their fight was the match between Katsuki and Kirishima. Though Kirishima had a defense against Katsuki quirk she was still outmatched in pure power. Katsuki used her explosions to overload Kirishima and push her out of bound. Then my match between Iida came, but I won because she forfeited. Apparently she had some family issues to attend to. Then there was the fight between Katsuki and Yaomomo in which Katsuki's raw power and pure skill helped her dominate in beating Yaomomo. Now it was the final fight between me and Katsuki. We both walked up on stage and glared at each other. We never did patch up our friendship. I will keep my promise and win. She said, we will see about that. I replied, ha ha ha, don't think I'm some weakling like that pathetic brother of yours. She said, what did you say? I said as I clenched my fists. I said your brother was a weak useless Deku. She replied with a smirk. Stop it, I'm warning you, I said as my nails dug into my skin. Deku got what he deserved. Hell, he got better than he deserved as he never even should have been born in the first place. He deserved to die, she said and I lost it. All I remember is seeing red and then when I came to I saw Katsuki bloody and beaten on stage. It was clear she lost consciousness and passed out. Her body was a mess. I must have beaten her pretty badly. Everyone in the crowd looked shocked before they started cheering for me. Katsuki came to as they wheeled her into the infirmary. The look in her eyes was one of terror. A familiar look as Izuku would have that same look all the time. During the awards ceremony there were only two of us there. Yaomomo was in third place still looking ashamed of herself. Katsuki was still in the infirmary so she was not on the second place pedestal. I stood there on the first place pedestal as I remembered all the time Izuku looked at me with those eyes filled with terror. My mother Toshina came up to us in her All Might form and gave us our medals. She looked so proud of me. But why? Why was I getting praised for practically beating someone half to death? I did not feel good or proud of myself in any way. How messed up is this world really? How messed up am I? Izuku Pav. I looked at the trembling girl in front of me. I have been watching her ever since the news reported on her. Mina Ishido, 15 years of age, sister of Hideaki Ishido, and daughter to heterosexual parents that stayed together after childbirth. Her quirk is called acid. She can produce an acid substance from her body and can decide how powerful the acid is. In terms of personality, she is kind, eccentric, and bright. She also thinks of men as equal and looks up to her brother. It pains me that someone actually deserving of being a hero is being treated like this. I hope this goes well. Why don't we talk somewhere more comfortable? I said as a portal opened up behind me. I motioned for her to go in. You expect me to follow you into that? She asked. I just sighed. Look, you're in an alley and there's no one around. If I wanted to kidnap or hurt you, then I would have done that already. I promise, I just want to talk with you. If you don't like what I have to say, then we will just drop you off back here. I said. Quote. She said nothing at first. Listen, I understand you don't trust me, nor do I fully expect you to. Though you have my word that I will not kill you, and I believe that the conversation I wish to have will be beneficial to you. I said. All right, she said, and followed me into the portal. Once through, we entered the bar. There were no windows, so she would not be able to figure out our location in the city. Though hopefully this goes well. I am taking a risk, but risks need to be taken to achieve great things. You really think a bar in what an underage girl thinks is comfortable? She asks with a blank face. Though she acted calm, I could clearly still see her trembling form and the fear within her eyes. Well, it's better than that alleyway. Also, we have no intention of serving a minor alcoholic drink. We got other drinks that you'd like. Just take a seat and ask for something. I suggested. If you got Sprite, then I'd be grateful. She asked as she sat down. I motioned for Kurogiri, who was currently cleaning a glass, to get her some. Kurogiri put a cup of Sprite in front of her. She simply stared down at it. It sucks, doesn't it? I said. Huh, she responded. Being blamed and ridiculed for something you had no control over. I said. And you would know how? She asks. Well, Miss Ashido, most villains are made, not born. I said as her face got a surprised look. Oh, I'm sorry, she said, slightly trembling more, thinking that I am mad at her. Relax, I take no offense from you. Anyways, let's change the subject for a bit. What is your opinion of men? I asked. I already knew, but I wanted to hear her words. Men. Well, in truth, I think they are overly looked down on. I've seen many of them, family included, mistreated. It doesn't make sense to me, as I believe they are just as capable as us. There is even one that I look up to more than anyone. He always helps and protects me. He's even cheered me on in public against all the boos I was getting at the festival. She responded. Your brother, Hideaki, sounds like an incredible person. I said. Yeah, he is. Wait, I never told you his name or who he was. I said skeptically. Well, I do make sure to research the people I speak with. Though you have every right to be skeptical of me, I promise you that I will not threaten or harm your brother in any way. I said as she calmed down a little. Anyways, what if I told you that we can create a more equal world for both men and women? I said. I'd say I'd help, but your methods are not right. Killing people isn't right, she said. I can agree that killing is wrong, but it is the only way. Anyway, what about the people who want you dead? You heard them in the crowd at the festival. They deemed you villainous, so to them your life can be easily taken away. I said as a look of realization hit her. I see. First tell me how you can create a more equal world. She asks. I am sorry, but I am also taking a risk talking to you. I need your word that you will join us and help us. I won't lie, you will definitely have to kill people. I said. What happens if I refuse? She asks. Then I will do as I said and drop you back off where we got you unharmed. Though next time we meet we will be on the battlefield and I will treat you as an enemy. I said. She sat in silence for a few minutes before looking at me and speaking up. That was the truth, as I would let the girl go, but after I had AFO erase some of her memories for safety measures. Can you really create a world that is equal for both men and women? She asks. I have that best chance out of anyone. I said. Then I will join you, she said. That's wonderful. Welcome to the League. Welcome to the League of Villains. Suddenly Shigaraki bursted through the door screaming that Dabi and Toga were behind her, having pulled small confetti cannons. Both Mina and I held shocked expressions on our face. Luckily, my face was still covered by a mask. Thank you, she said, still very confused. Welcome, they all said in unison. So Miss Ouroboros, would you mind explaining how you can make an equal world? She asked. Mr. I said. You said. Miss, I am a Mr. I said as I took off my mask, revealing my face. Quote. What? She said, clearly surprised. What did you think that because I was a leader that I would be a woman? I asked. No sir. She said. Relax, please. Anyways, I want to show you something. I said as I pointed at Dabi. Who's he? She asked. That emo guy is Dabi. He was born a man as you can see. I said. Okay, she said as I just smiled. Dabi, show her, I said as he brought his hand up and suddenly a blue flame lit up around it. What? But how? She said, still processing that a man had a quirk. You see, I have an original power that can unlock the quirks of men. I said, you can give men quirks. She asks, no, I don't give nor make quirks. You see, men have always had quirks. It is just that they laid dormant inside them. I have the ability to activate those quirks. I see, then you really are the best suited person to make this world more equal. She said, correct. I said, I have another question. She said, shoot. What's your real name? She asked. Sadly, there is one last test that I need you to complete before I give you that kind of information. I said, and that would be? She inquired. I pointed at Kurogiri and she opened up a portal. We walked through the portal to a tied-up hero. Mina had shock written all over her face. Mina paused. I stood there as I looked up at a hero I saw not too long ago on stage. Tied up with chains and quirk-canceling cuffs was the pro hero Midnight. She was conscious, but gagged. What are we gonna do? I asked. We aren't gonna do anything. You on the other hand are gonna kill her. Ouroboros said in a cold voice. But why? She is a hero and saves lives. I have seen her in action more than a few times. I said, she may be seen as a hero, but she is far from a true hero. In truth, she kidnaps men and puts them in her own BDSM torture chamber. She'll torture them for weeks until they die. She had done this a number of times. Ouroboros explained and then handed me photos of mutilated corpses. Some of them were whipped, burned, beaten, and even chopped up. This cannot be true. I said, it is true though, and she uses her status as a hero to get away with it. Not only that, but here, take a look at her phone. She stalks her victims before she abducts them. You should know who she has been targeting as her next victim. Ouroboros said as she handed me her phone. I looked through the pictures and what I saw horrified me. She had candid photos of my brother Hideaki. My brother was going to be one of her victims. A shadow casts over my eyes. Remove that gag, I said, and they removed her gag. MMMPH, it's not what you think. Midnight said. Why? I said. They are lying to you. Midnight yelled. Why? I asked again. Hurry up and release me. Midnight pleaded. Why? I screamed, making her stop. Because they are pathetic. Midnight answered in a low voice. What? I asked. It's fucking because they are all pathetic. Nothing but worthless toys that I should be able to use for my own pleasure. It's where their pathetic gender belongs as the playthings, firstborn the superior gender as females. HAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHShe said, your brother is no different. Just another pathetic male among the mass. He should be glad that I have found a use for him. He just another pathetic mal. She did not get to finish as I grabbed her tongue and used my acid to melt it to slush. Her face contorted into pain, but I was not finished yet. Next, I grabbed her thigh as my acid easily burned through them. At this point she could not control her screaming. Then I spread some less acidic acid on her arms, making sure that her arms weren't burned through so the quirk-canceling cuffs would still work. After this I watched her in agony for a bit before deciding to continue. I grabbed her tits and started to melt them as well. Finally it was time to finish this. I tilted her head back and looked directly into her eyes. They were filled with so much pain and terror, but I did not care as my eyes were filled with anger and hatred. I shoved my hand down her throat as I started producing the most acidic acid I could. It burned all the way down her esophagus to her stomach. Then it continued to burn through her intestines and all the way through her body. By the time the acid finished there was nothing but goo and slush left of her midsection and lower body. I watched as the light left her eyes and she died. I was still caught up in the moment until I heard clapping. Bravo! That was amazing, Ouroboros said with a gentle warming smile. This means I passed, correct? I asked. Absolutely. You did better than I expected, Ouroboros stated. Thank you. Now do you mind telling me who you are? I asked as he just nodded. Izuku paused. This was just absolutely amazing. I expected her to either back out or kill her quickly in a form of mercy, but no, he tortured the bitch. She will definitely be a good ally to have. Now I think she is ready to know my name. She will trust me more because she already knows that I know about her, so it's only fair since we are comrades. Though I now go by Ouroboros. My birth name is Izuku Yagi. I said as I saw yet another shocked face on her. Yagi, you wouldn't happen to be related to Izumi Yagi, would you? Mina asked. That bitch is my biological sister. I said in a cold voice. I think she mentioned you before. Mina said. Did she mention how she and her friends Katsuki and Shoka would beat me to pulp every day, or how my parents would neglect my injuries and I would have to defend myself? I was basically a slave in the family. I explained. I see. I never would have thought that Izumi would do something like that. She always preached about wanting to be a hero like All Might. Mina said as I bursted out into laughter. A hero like All Might, huh? Well, I wouldn't say she is far off. I said. What do you mean? Mina asked. All Might's full name is Toshina Yagi. She is one my original mother's, though I will never see her as one, nor does she deserve to be called one. I said. Really? Mina asks. Yep. She preached that anyone can be a hero, but with how she treated me she should be in prison. She is no hero. I see. Anyway, let me introduce you to some more people and fill you in on everything you need to know. I said as she nodded. I introduced her to every and they explained their backgrounds to her. Once the introductions were done, I filled her on what she would be mainly doing for the League. For now she will simply work as a spy and collect information as a student. She also decided to not involve her family. She still wanted me to unlock her brother's quirk, but not until everything was over with. She dropped her off near her house and left. I gave her an untraceable cell phone to contact us. After that was over, I went back to the barely recognizable body of Midnight. I had a plan on what to do with the remains, though I had to tamper with it so the body's injuries could not be traced back to Mina's quirk. Third POV a few days later. The internet was going wild as multiple pictures of Midnight and her victims spread like wildfire. It seems like she enjoyed photographing herself with her victims. By the time the media had successfully suppressed the horrendous pictures, the damage was done and Midnight's public image was ruined. Then her body was found, or at least what was left of it. Izuku made sure to get rid of any substance trace of Mina's acid, and then had Dabi light his fire around all the damaged parts to make it look like fire was used to melt part of her body. Midnight's nearly unrecognizable body was separated and designed to look like the Ouroboros symbol. The symbol was laid out in front of the gates of Ua. The school gave the students that day off. Izumi POV. Everyone was sitting quietly in class. It was the day after they found Midnight's body. No one spoke about it, especially not me, since it was the first to see it, as I usually got to school early to continue studying. Even though I spend a lot of time studying, I was only placed 10th in class in terms of academics, which is second to last since 2 students were already out because of the USJ. I only barely managed to beat out Kirishima in last place. Every day, I come to truly release how much I used and took granted of my brother. This morning, I tried to talk to Mina, but she all but ignored me. I'm pretty sure she is angry that I never stood up for her. I'll let her be for a bit and then she will cook down. Sensei walked in and addressed the class as she wrote on the board. Attention brats. These are the agencies that requested you to intern at their agencies. You will have until the end of the week to decide, Aizawa said as she finished writing down the names for each student. Everyone had gotten offers, except for Mina. I honestly feel bad for her. Even though I came in first, I only had the 3rd most requested agencies. Probably because of how I hurt Katsuki so bad. Even now she isn't fully healed, it should be fine when internship started. She still acts the same, but she flinches slightly every time I cross eyes or end up near each other. Sensei continued. Before you choose your agencies, you must choose your hero names first. I'm not good at that, so we have invited MT. Lady. Aizawa said, and MT. Lady came in. All right, everyone, it is finally time to choose your hero name. She announced. She handed up each a whiteboard and marker as we chose our hero names. She made sure to point out that even though it was possible to change then, it is best we choose one to still. I sweated as I never once thought of my hero name before. Izuku probably did when he was younger. Everyone started walking up showing their chosen names. Both Shoka and Iida stayed with their own first names. Sui chose the name, Froppy, which everyone thought was adorable. Uraraka chose the name, Uravati, which was also neat. Yaomomo got the name, Kriti. Mina tried to choose, Alien Queen, to which Mt. Lady said that my put-off child. So Mina decided to go with, Pinky. Jiro named her herself after her quirk, Earphone Jack. Toru named herself, Invisible Girl, which could be more fitting for her. Hiroshima named herself, Red Riot, and called it a manly name. Katsuki's name was undecided as Mt. Lady did not approve of any of her chosen names. It was finally my turn as I walked up in front of the class and showed everyone my hero name. Most were confused, but both Katsuki's and Shoka's eyes shot wide open at my chosen name. Deku. That will be my hero name. I said. May I ask why? Mount. Lady asked, clearly confused. I used to use that name as a form of insult towards someone precious to me. I will instead use it as a form of remembrance now. I stated. Izuku Pav a few hours later. I see, so she chose that name for herself. I said. Mina just came to the hideout and told me what had occurred earlier today. Nobody in the room dared to move as the amount of bloodlust I had leaking off me made them all freeze from fear. Until I suddenly bursted into laughter. I will definitely make sure that bitch will pay, and no stupid child insult was going to cut it. She will suffer, both physically and mentally. That is a promise. Izuku Pav. I was with Mina as she gave me her report. Mina, I want you to choose an agency away from Hosu, alright? It doesn't matter which, just make sure that the chances of you patrolling with other heroes in or near Hosu is basically non-existent. I said, sure, I can do that. Why though? She asks. Let's just say the league needs to test out some toys and I wish to meet someone. I said with a smile. Gotcha. Is there anything else you need me to do? She asks. Actually yes. While you are a great spy for us to have, I believe that another would be of great assistance. I said. Oh, are you going to try to turn another student from class 1A? She inquired. No, the spy will not be a classmate of yours. All I need you to do is introduce the spy to one of your classmates. One that currently is not in a relationship. I explained. Alright, so where is this spy? She asks. I signaled towards the door as a silhouette started coming through the doorway. Introduce yourself. I said. What's up? The name's Denki Kaminari. He said. Izumi Pav. I was waiting at the station with my friends before we started to separate to go to our chosen agencies. Everything started to calm down. Mina started talking and laughing with me again. Something does seem a little off with her, but I'm sure it's nothing. Also Sensei told the class that after internship we will be having new students. The thing that worried me most was Iida. I heard about what happened to her sister and am pretty sure that she chose her agency because of its location. I could talk with her, but this is her family business and I shouldn't get involved. So I left the station and headed towards my destination. The hero that my mother recommended to me. When I got to the apartment, I shocked at first because it looked like a murder scene. Though the old woman just fell on her treat. When I got a better look at her, I recognized her as someone I saw at Izuku's funeral. Sorihiko Tarina is her name and Gran Tarina is her hero name. My mother seemed terrified of her when she spoke of her to me. To me she just seems weak old lad. I was interrupted as she suddenly shot around the room before eventually punching me across the room and telling me training starts now. I was beaten for hours as she was too fast for me to use my electro-telekinesis on. Eventually she told me a hint about suppressing OFA and spreading what I could throughout my entire body. I sadly realized that I could only use 3% of the power. Any more aches would become too much for me. We continued to train like that for a couple of days until Gran Tarina finally decided to take me on patrol. Finally I can beat the villain scum and save people in need. While we were on a train, the train suddenly got attacked by a creature that closely resembled the only from the USJ incident. It was another Nomu. I was told to go look for people in need of help. As I left the train, I remembered that Iida is here. Hopefully she is alright. Maybe I should just trust in her sense and abilities. Yeah, she wouldn't let revenge consume her. Damn it, I yelled after debating for a few minutes. I rushed to go find her. Stain Pav. Don't you just love it when you catch 2 fish, while only fishing for 1? As I was about to finish off another false hero, another moronic false hero came in to try and stop me. What was even more idiotic is this so-called righteous hero was only after revenge. I recognized her as the younger sister of Igenium, a hero which I crippled. She started spouting some nonsense about justice, but I could see in her eyes that she was clouded by rage. She was no hero. No, she was just like the rest of them. A false hero. That made it easy to subdue her. You bastard, what did you do to me? I cannot move, she yelled. If you were smart, then you would have done proper research on me. My swords are laced with a paralytic toxin. 1 cut and you aren't moving for a while. I explained as I didn't see a point in lying. It was common knowledge among the heroes and the brat would be dead soon. First I should take care of my original target. I walked over to her as she was knocked unconscious during the fight with the brat. I raised my sword in preparation to drive it through her skull. No, the brat yelled as I drove my sword through the back of her head, killing her instantly. I thought this to be an act of mercy after what I usually do. Now it is your turn. I was interrupted by the sound of clapping. Preparing myself to attack, I turned around to see a figure that was very family from the news. I was staring at Ouroboros, who was clapping. Bravo, that was amazing. She said. What do you want? I asked in a cold tone. I simply wish to have a discussion with you. She answered. I assume you will ask me to join you. I inquired, bored as I have done this whole thing before. That would be correct, she replied. Not interested. You aren't the first and you most likely won't be the last. Every time an organization like yours approaches me, they only wish to use my skills and not further my ideals. I said rather plainly. I see, but I think a chat would greatly sway your opinion of my organization. She said. I was about to reply, before I heard yelling behind me to notice the brat making a ruckus. You bastards! How dare you ignore me? Ouroboros, you are responsible for deaths and injuries of people I thought of as friends and heroines I looked up to. Stain, you are the reason multiple murders of honorable heroines and the cause of my sister's poor physical state. You both are nothing but cruel, heartless monsters. The brat yelled. Once her outburst was done, I noticed Ouroboros was walking past me and crouched down next to the brat. The tip of her mask was barely inches from the kid's face. You called us cruel and heartless. Though what about you? Also, which honorable heroines do you mean? If you mean Midnight, then are you saying that kidnapping and torturing men to death is honorable? Or do you mean 13? The same heroine who during her rescuing attempt would thoughtlessly kill men she was supposed to save. Then there is you. You are here for nothing but revenge. To satisfy your own rage. A true hero would have prioritized the injured and grabbed the girl and rushed to escape. Now because of your own selfishness the very person is dead. I feel no pity toward her since she was a false hero, but still you have no right to judge our action if you yourself aren't any different. Ouroboros explained. No, 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 no. I am the hero and I have justice on me. The brat screamed. Sigh, it seems you are also a lost cause. Ouroboros said as she picked up the paralyzed teen by the neck and held her up in the air. His grip kept on tightening until a loud snap was heard and the brat was dead. All right, you have my attention. Let's have a chat, I said. The speech she gave had moved me to agree to have a talk with her. That's great, just through here, she said and pointed towards a purple misty portal that opened up. We both walked through it. Izumi paused. Late, too late. I was too late. When I found Iida I had gotten there too late. I found 2 dead bodies. One was a hero that I didn't recognize and the other was Iida. Her neck was broken. I broke down in a crying fit as I found her still warm body. She had died recently. If I had just gone to find her straight away then I may have been able to save her. Just like with my brother, I failed her. If I just ran after my brother that day on the rooftop then I could have saved him and even apologized to him. I could have saved Iida as well if I did not hesitate. Eventually the Nomus were defeated and the heroes found me near the body of my friend. After that, explaining why I was there, they let me go and I went and found Grantarina. She found out about my friend and gave me the next day off even though I was not injured. The day after that I was back at training again because she said these types of things happen all the time in hero work and the Iida would probably not be the only friend I would lose in my career as a hero. Finally the internships ended and I was back in school. Everyone was acting normal. I'm sure they are all sad due to Iida's death. Most of my classmates placed flowers on her desk. I overheard Jiro talking about a new boyfriend or something. Sensei came and told everyone to quiet down before beginning an announcement. She was followed in by 3 students. Alright everyone, as I mentioned before the internships, we have a few new students coming in. Sensei turns to the students, introduce yourself, state your name, quirk, and an interesting fact about yourself or something. Just finished before my nap ends. Sensei said before she pulled her sleeping bag out of thin air and went to sleep. Hitosha Shinso. My quirk in brainwashing. I don't have any interesting facts. Shinso said. I recognized her as the first person I fought in the sports festival. She must have been promoted to the hero course. I don't recognize the other 2 though. Malti Melromark. My quirk is arachnid. I can sprout 8 giant spider legs out of my back. They help in movement and are incredibly strong and durable. About me, well, I'm just plain amazing and meant for greatness. I hope you show everyone how super I mean amazing I am. A girl redhead with green eyes. Her hair was tied in a large ponytail. She practically used smugness, and I'm pretty sure we have someone similar to another Katsuki in our class. Seryu Ubiquitos. My quirk in weaponized body. It allows me to turn parts of my body into weapons such as guns or swords. I am a big fan of justice, and I will make sure that all those unjust villains will receive my justice, whether they live through it or not. A girl with orange hair and brown eyes said. She seems like a fun outgoing person, but introduction made me question how sane she was. Izuku Pav. I was resting at the bar counter. My discussion with Stain went very well and he was more than happy to join us after he learned of me and my abilities. After unlocking his quirk we found out she could paralyze people by ingesting some of their blood. The time changed depending on blood type, but still very useful. He won't have to keep making and updating his paralytic toxins. He is currently speaking with AFO. Mina has been doing well. She is constantly giving me useful information. She introduced Kaminari to a classmate of hers named Kyoka Jiro. He might not be able to get as much information as Mina, but it is always helpful to have a backup plan. If Mina gets compromised and we have to pull her out, then Kaminari will be able to help. Not only that, but I have my eyes on a student from class 1B. I don't know if I should recruit her or not yet, but she would definitely be a good ally. While thinking to myself, I am approached by Sakura with Dabi and Shigaraki following behind. Are you okay? You have been working non-stop lately. Sakura says with concern in her eyes. I'm fine. I try to get some sleep later, I said with a small smile. Dude, it is not just that. You need to give your mind a break and focus on something else. Dabi suggested. He's right. You barely play video games with me anymore, and when you do it is like I am playing against a cardboard box. Shigaraki added in. What they are trying to say, Izuku, is that you should do something for yourself and let your brain relax. Sakura said. You're right, I admitted. Is there anything you want to do? Sakura asks. I thought for a while before something came to mind. I always wanted to meet my father. Izuku Pav. I currently find myself in front of a small one-story house. It's a bit run down. The house was located at the edge of a small town that was not too far from the city. It took me a bit to find this place. First, in order to get a name, I had to find out who attended my funeral. Then I had to go through multiple sources, courtesy of AFO, until I found this address. The whole process took nearly 2 weeks. I have been hesitating to knock on the door for over an hour. Just an hour of doing nothing but standing and worrying. Worrying about all the things that could go wrong. How would he react? Has he forgotten about me? Does he even care? Will he even see me as his son? I steeled my nerves and knocked on the door. I heard something sounding like, coming from inside the house. After that there was a bit of shuffling and walking. As the sound got closer, my nerves got worse. I started feeling nauseous and sick. Everything that was happening was only taking a few seconds, but for me it felt like an agonizing amount of time. Finally the door opened. A man with a strong build opened the door. He had short, kinda messy, white hair. His eyes were like a shining grayish color. Hello, how can I help ya? He said before meeting my eyes. Once he did, we both just stood there in silence. Hello, I don't know if you are going to believe this, but I am actually your so, PHPHP. I was cut short as he suddenly embraced me in a big hug. A hug so full of warmth and love. A hug so safe and comforting. I have only felt this kind of hug with one other person before. This man truly was my father. A part of me was a bit surprised that he recognized me, but I chalked it up to him just being my father and just knowing. This was Hisashi Midoriya, my father. After a bit the hug ended and he started blasting me with questing. Though my mind was still focused on the hug as well as one other thing. The look in his eyes showed a heavy mix of happiness, relief, sadness, and love. I was brought back to attention, and he stopped the questions, when we heard the small patter of feet behind him before a voice spoke up. "Daddy, who is it?" asked Kaminari Pav. I was currently at a designated meeting spot, sporting some stylish black ripped jeans and a white t-shirt with a lightning design. Then I had on an unzipped thin jacket. I was looking pretty good if I do say so myself. While admiring my choice of fashion, I noticed the person I was waiting for was arriving. Hyoka Jiro, from Class 1A. Her quirk is earphone jack, so I have to be careful when speaking if she is anywhere nearby. She had on some short jean shorts and a white top with a black sleeveless undershirt. Mina's job was to introduce us as well as set up a date, and now I had to do my job. My job was to get her to fall for me so I could use her for information. I am certainly not complaining about my job. She does look rather cute in her outfit. Though this is all for the league. They were the ones that saved me and gave me a chance. I will not let them down. Also, in the end she is probably just another girl with a superiority complex and thinks nothing of men except that they are weak. She is a UA student after all. Jiro finally reached me. "Hey, did you wait long?" she asked with a slight blush. Her nervousness was clear as day and anyone could tell she probably doesn't go on dates a lot. "Nah, only been here for a few minutes. You look great by the way," I said with a smile. Oh, thanks. You too," she said with a beet red face. "Should we get going?" I asked and offered her a hand. "Why yes, of course," she said and started walking, too embarrassed to hold my hand. I just shrugged and walked up beside her. Our first stop was a small coffee shop. We sat outside with our coffee and just got to know each other. As it turns out we have similar likes, which made it easier for me. We both like music and play multiple instruments. We like all genres, but both of our favorites are punk rock. We ended up listening to songs with our favorite bands while we enjoyed our coffee. Then we were asked to leave because the other customers were getting annoyed. While walking and chatting, I came across the poster about a punk rock show that was starting soon. I asked if she wanted to go, to which she agreed to. She looked so excited to go and I certainly would enjoy it as well. This may be my first proper date with a girl, but I think it is going all right now. Though the good time ended once we reached the entrance. We were, or I should saw I was stopped by the girl at the door. "No guys allowed. Get lost," the guard said in a bored voice. "Why?" Jiro asked. "Because why not? You are welcome to go in, but the loser gotta fuck off," the guard said, still looking unimpressed. I could see where this was going, so I just sighed and decided to speed things up. "Sigh, go on in, Jiro. I see you again some other time," I said as I began walking away. Of course she was gonna ditch me either way, so why not just cut the bullshit and end this date with her so she could have her fun. "No, if he's not allowed in then I ain't going in," she said as she grabbed my hand and dragged me away. She was stomping as well. This was surprising to say the least. I didn't expect her to do that. "Why did you do that? You could have enjoyed the show," I said. "This is a date. It wouldn't be cool of me to just ditch you to have your own fun," she said while looking away. "I see. Well, what would you like to do now?" I asked. "I got plenty of instruments at my place. I'm interested to see how you play," she asked. I noticed she was shivering. "I'm down for that, sure. But first," I said and proceeded to take my jacket off and hand it to her. She took it and put it on. We then headed to her house. Luckily her parents weren't home as they were on tour. The rest of the night was really fun and relaxing. It consisted of instrument playing, singing, and dancing. At one point we got hungry and Jiro nearly burned her house down in trying to cook something. I ended up just making some heated sandwiches for us both. Still throughout most of the night she had this smile that was full of fun and happiness. I guess she isn't so bad after all. Izumi Pav. Here I stand in the middle of a city. Katsuki was beside me and we were about to go up against our biggest challenge yet, All Might. Of course during finals I had to be paired with the person I least want to be with and against the strongest hero, which happens to be my mother. This was going to suck. We have to hurry to the exit before she finds us. I said, screw that, I'm gonna fight and win. Katsuki yelled, don't be foolish, now let's run. I grabbed her arm, but she jerked it away from me. TCH, you're acting like your weak brother. Katsuki said, don't fucking say his name you bitch. I yelled as I pushed her against the wall. You wanna fucking go bit. Katsuki started but was interrupted as a huge, earth-shattering, gust of wind came and blew us back. After balancing ourselves we both suddenly felt overwhelming pressure as an all-too-familiar voice spoke up. Allies fight each other on the battleground. So shameful and unhero-like, not to mention suicidal considering I am your opponent. All Might said. Katsuki obviously did the stupid thing and tried to attack her. To which she goes a simple, yet effective, backhand. Though I had to give Katsuki one thing, she was resilient. I contemplated on pulling her out of there and trying to get her to work with me on forming a plan for us to win, but I doubt she would listen. In the end, the best idea was to just run for the exit and let Katsuki distract her. As I reached the end of the city, I could see the escape gate. Sadly, it seemed Lady Luck was not on my side because as suddenly I felt huge pressure on my back as I fell face first and skidded across the pavement for several feet. Turns out All Might threw a beaten-up Katsuki at me and it landed its mark. I laid there in agony with a body on top of me before finally pushing myself up. Katsuki looked to be unconscious. Before I could even react, All Might was before me with her fist cocked. I braced for impact, but was both relieved and surprised. She spoke quietly. Okay, sweetie, I need you to use 100% of OFA and punch me. Then grab Katsuki and run for the gate. I will make it look like I am in a state of confusion. She whispered quickly. Why? I said quietly. Because you need to get stronger and to do that I need you at the training camp. This final means nothing in the long run. So hurry up and do it to become one step closer to being a hero. She quickly whispered again. I just held a determined gaze and did as I was told. After I punched her, I quickly grabbed Katsuki, then I ran through the exit gate using my 3% full cowl to boost my speed. In the end, both me and Katsuki passed. My mother gave me that same proud look she did back during the sports festival. I was happy that I won, but something felt wrong still. Like this twisting sensation in my gut telling me that I shouldn't have won like that. Izuku Pav. Daddy. Who is it? Asked. Behind my dad was a little girl. She couldn't have been older than 7 or 8. Her hair was long and black which matched the dress she was wearing. She had palish skin, but still looked healthy enough. She was shaking a bit, must be timid. What really caught my attention though was her eye. The little girl's eyes were gray, just like my father. I was brought out of my mind by a cough from my father. Why don't we talk inside? He said as he held the door open. I just nodded and walked in. Once inside, I came to a hallway. Following my dad, we went through the first door on the right which led to the living room. Taking my seat in an armchair, my dad sat on the couch opposite of me with the little girl sitting next to him. I noticed a stack of elementary school books to the side of the couch. Sweetie, why don't you go to your room for a bit? It won't be for too long. Please, he said. Okay, Daddy, the girl said as she got up and left the room. Her eyes didn't leave me until she went into the hallway. There was silence again for a bit before I spoke up first. What's her name? I asked. Lily Midoriya. She just turned 7. He answered. I see, that's nice. I said quietly. Izuku, please let me just say I didn't have her to replace you or Izumi. While I have no love for your mothers, you are still my child and there was not a single day where I did not think about you both. When I went to your funeral, I had to wait to see till everyone left before I could actually get close to the grave. Once I did, I broke down and cried for hours in front of the grave. He explained. I understand, it's fine. I believe you. Where is her mother? Work. I asked, trying to change the topic a bit to show I was all right. That failed miserably because as soon as I mentioned the girl's mother his face sunk. Sadly, she passed away shortly after giving birth to Lily. He expressed grimly. I'm sorry. I said. Don't be, it's not your fault. He said. Who was she? I asked. The first and only love of my life. Her name was Lorionette. We met in middle school and have been together since. He said. If that's the case, then why have children with them? I asked as he knew who I was talking about when I said, them. It's more like they wanted a child with me. You see, my mother had a pretty powerful dragon-like quirk. She passed away a bit after I graduated. That's when Toshina and Inko decided to strike. They wanted to see if the child I would produce with them would have a mixture of theirs and my mother's quirk. At first, they tried to seduce me, but I kept turning them down as I was already with Lorionette. So came the threats. There were already top heroes at that point and could ruin both mine and my girlfriend's life. So, with Lorionette's approval, I went ahead with their demands. It pained me so much because not only was I being unfaithful, but I didn't even get to see either you or Izumi at the hospital. All I ever got was a picture of you two at the hospital after birth. I still hold on to that picture in my wallet. He said as she pulled out the picture and showed me. They are even more pathetic and cruel than I thought. I said, referring to Toshina and Inko. Yes, also Lorionette always wanted to meet you and Izumi. You may not have been hers, but I know she would have treated you as her own loving child if she met. He said, she sounds like an amazing woman. I am sure she was going places. I said, sadly, while she was incredibly smart and talented, she lacked something that the people in this society won't overlook. He said and it came to me instantly. You don't mean, I said. Yes, she was one of the very few women to be born quirkless. A trait, which was also passed on to our daughter. He said and even more realization hit me. The school books in the living room, the timid nature, everything made sense. Lily is quirkless like her mother was. I said, that's correct. Once we found out, I did my best to be there for her. Though, I could not be there all the time. The third time she came home from school with bruises was when I had enough. I pulled her out and have been homeschooling her since. To make things easier, I was able to get a job as a website designer online. The pay is decent and I can spend most of my time with my daughter. She is still shy around strangers because their attitude changes once they find out she doesn't have a quirk. He said, you know, I didn't know what to expect when I first came to find you. I thought of a lot of negative scenarios. I thought maybe you moved on, maybe you forgot me. Maybe you hated me, maybe you never loved me. I didn't know what to think and my anxiety was overwhelming, but then I met you. The hug you gave me was so full of love and compassion. The way you talked about Lily and Lorionette was beautiful. How you talked to and about me erased all my worries. I now know you are my father, a kind and loving man who cares for his family. That means a lot as well. I always thought you might disregard me or hate me for not being there for you. Now that we got that settled, I believe I am entitled to an explanation of everything that is going on with you. Considering you clearly faked your own death. He said, I believe you do. I said and went on to explain everything to him. I explained how my life with the Yagis was, how I awoke my powers, and what my current activities are. During the explanation my dad listened carefully throughout the entire story. After I finished we were silent again for it until he spoke up. I'm sorry. He said, quote. I remained silent. He got on his hands and knees in front of me. I'm so sorry. I couldn't protect you. I should have been there for you. He yelled. I knelt down beside him and dropped my arms around him. It's okay. I never once hated you nor blamed you for my life. Also when you couldn't be there for me, I am positive you were there for Lily and Lorionette. I said. Once we both calmed down we took our seats again. Anyways that was quite the story. So you were able to unlock the quirks of men now? He asked. Yeah, I can unlock yours now if you want. I suggested. He thought about it for a minute before answering. Nah, or at least not yet. I have done fine and I was my daughter to not feel left out. I think I'll stay how I am for now. He answered. I can respect that. I always wanted to suggest something. I said. What is it? He asked. Eventually I will have to become public and when they find out who I am that may lead trouble towards you. They would want to make sure that there aren't two men who can unlock the quirks of men. So if you want, you and Lily are more than welcome to come stay at one of AFO's bases. It shouldn't be too hard considering Lily is homeschooled and you work from home. You both would be treated really well, I promise. I said, I think that would be a great idea. We would just need time to pack. He answered and I smiled, one of the brightest smiles I have ever done. Well then I best be leaving you to your business. I said, getting up to leave, but was stopped by a hand on my shoulder. Now where do you think you're going? Do you think I am just going to let you leave without properly meeting you, little sister? He asked, and before I could answer he dragged me out into the hallway towards another door at the end of the hall. The room was your average little girl room. It was painted purple, had stuffed animals and a lot of coloring books. Lily was sitting at a small table coloring in some books. She has not noticed our presence yet. Lily, Dad said, and she looked up from her books. Yes, Papa, she said. There is someone here to meet you. Dad said and pointed to me. Lily looked at me. Hello, she said. I looked at her and smiled. Hello, Lily. It's a pleasure to meet you. I am your big brother. My name is Izuku. I said. Big brother, she said and looked at Dad, who just nodded. That's correct, and we are going to live with him from now on. Dad explained. I know this is probably a lot to take in, but if you would please give me a chance, then I will protect and love you as a sibling should. I said as I held out my hand. I would not let what happened to me happen to Lily. It took a few seconds, but she finally reached out and grabbed my hands. It's nice to meet you, big brother Izuku, she said with the most adorable smile. The rest of the day was me spending time with my dad and new little sister. We chatted, watched some TV, and even played some cards and video games. When I did leave, I said I would be back in a couple of days to take them. I would help them pack, but I have gotta explain this to everyone else and I have some more business to take care of. Izuku Pav. I stepped through a portal into a room in my gear. It was a simple room, though one could tell it belonged to a girl. The room looked calm and peaceful. Well, almost calm and peaceful. There was one thing that disrupted the steadiness of the room. There was a girl crying on her bed facing the wall. She had yet to notice me, but I definitely noticed her. She was an American, and from what I learned about her is 2 years my senior. The first thing I noticed was her hair. Unlike my sister, who has golden blonde hair, her hair was yellowish blonde and waved down her back. Then I noticed her body. It was curvy and she had pale skin. I also noticed a pair of glasses folded down next to her. That was mostly likely because she was crying and the glasses were in the way. I eventually made my presence known by a slight cough. The girl turned her head to look at me in surprise, and that's when I saw her face. I've seen it before in a picture, but the picture did nothing to show the beauty of the girl in front of me. Her face looked delicate and a bit round-shaped. Her eyes reminded me of the ocean, with them being aqua blue. She had luscious pink lips. This girl was an absolute beauty, and I couldn't help but think that someone this gorgeous shouldn't stain her face with tears. Not that she didn't still look amazing while crying, but still she should be happy. I was so stunned by her beauty that I almost didn't notice her reach for her phone. Wait, please, I just came to talk, I said as I put my hands up and backed up. What do you want with me? She asked, and she tried and failed to control her tears. I simply came to discuss with you and give you an offer. If you decide to decline it, then I will leave peacefully and not harm you. I give you my word, I say, to which she slightly nods. Oh, okay, she said. First things first, introduction. I go by Ouroboros. I am sure you have heard of me, but rest assured I am not here to harm or threaten you. I say to reassure her, because as soon as I mentioned who I was, she got a look of realization and then looked absolutely terrified. I let her sit for a few moments to calm down a bit, to which it looked like she was finally about to slightly compose herself as she reached to put on her glasses. To be honest, the glasses added to her beauty. Melissa Shield. She spoke her name. I am well aware of that, Miss Shield, or would you prefer Melissa? I asked. Melissa is fine. Anyway, what do you want to speak about? She asked. Well, first that talk about you, and to be more specific, what happened to you recently regarding All Might and her daughter. I said, and she went wide-eyed before she looked to be about to cry again. They, my father. She was shuddering with her words. So I crouched down, but made sure not to get closer yet. Hey, it is all right. I have a pretty good idea of what happened, but just want to know what happened from you personally. I would like to know everything if you don't mind, I said as she looked down at me and nodded. Inhale exhale. My father was a genius man, he was an inventor and was talented. Though people would usually look past his inventions because he was, well, a he. Though at some point in time he met All Might. I don't know what entirely transpired between them as I wasn't born yet and I only have what my father has told me to go on, but they became friends. My father, with apparent help from All Might, was able to build his own company and become a highly recognized scientist. In turn, he practically worshipped and praised All Might, doing everything she asked. I don't know what she would ask for, but when she did ask for something my father would drop everything else to do whatever she asked. I didn't think anything of it because from what I was told All Might was a wonderful person. She would often come to visit and speak with my father, though usually there was always something she needed. Also she constantly talked about her daughter and how strong she was becoming. Anyways, she recently came to visit with her daughter, Izumi, to see the expo. Though during that we were attacked by villains and most of the people were taken hostage. I, along with Izumi and some other UA students, were about to get to the control room to try and stop the villains, but turns out my father had a hand with the villains. Apparently he was trying to steal back a device he created to help All Might. Said device was confiscated. My father was deceived though and betrayed by the villains. In the end, All Might and Izumi took down the villain and in the process destroyed the device my father created. I thought that was it, but the police quickly came and arrested my father. In the trial, he tried to explain that he was friends with All Might and only wanted to help her because she was losing her power. Thought All Might denied that they were friends and said she only ever met him many years ago for some support items. She then went on to berate him in the trial and insult him, saying he was delusional. By the end of it, my father was so distraught that he could not even speak and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. But I guess sniff he caused deal W with it. The asterisk next morning they found sniff my father in his cell, dead He hung himself with his sheets. Their sniff was a small end note next to him that said, "I'm sorry my sweet daughter Melissa." After she said that last part Melissa burst into tears again. I let her cry for a few minutes before speaking. All Might really is scum, I said as Melissa looked up to me. Has she hurt you too? She asked. She along with her wife and daughter have hurt me more than anything else ever could. I replied. How? If you don't mind me asking. She asked and aside decided that I should tell her. First I took off my mask and cloak and showed myself. Her eyes widened with shock before saying, "Why, you're a boy." Yep, let me introduce myself. My name is Izuku Yagi, though I now go by Izuku Midoriya, and I am the son of All Might and the twin of Izuku Yagi. I said as Melissa's face was frozen in a state of shock. She never mentioned she had a son. Melissa said once she was out of her stupor. Well, she was a neglectful, child slave driving bitch with an abusive bitch of a daughter. I said in a voice laced with venom that made Melissa flinch a bit. Slave driver, abusive, she asked. Well, the only time my mothers ever gave me any attention was when they were ordering me to clean, work, or do stuff for my sister like her homework. Other times was when I was punished. My sister constantly abused and hurt me every day as my mothers just ignored it. They wouldn't even feed or look after me. I had to do everything myself. I said as a small tear went down my eye. Melissa looked ready to burst into a crying fit again, but she immediately ran up and hugged me, telling me things like, "It's going to be okay, and you are safe here." I let her hug me and hugged back cause I could tell he needed it just as well. Once that was over I offered to join the League of Villains and told her my plan. She accepted and I helped pack the things she wanted to bring with her. I brought her and her stuff to the lab with Dr. Garaki. Though he could seem creepy, in all actuality he was a kind old man that showed Melissa to her room. Melissa won't be helping with gear or nomus. No, her job will be to help Dr. Garaki with the end goal. Sakura Pav. I was currently walking to the kitchen to make myself a snack. It took me a while to be able to memorize the outline of the base I have been staying at. I could technically stay at my old house, since I still own it, but Izuku would not have any of that. He made it clear that it was too dangerous, and any info leaked could lead the heroes to me, which made Izuku worry too much. It was still baffling to me how I went from your average day citizen to being in league with the LOV. I know one thing for sure though, I definitely don't regret my decision. I was brought out of my head when I accidentally bumped into someone and fell. I looked up to see Hisashi Midoriya. Izuku brought him earlier this week. He was Izuku's biological father. The man looked a little frazzled and I am guessing part of it was accidentally knocking me down, though he is probably also lost. I noticed him holding his hand out. "Excuse, my apologies," he said as he gently pulled me up. "No worries, I am at fault as well for not paying attention," I said with a smile. I noticed a pair of tiny legs behind him and realized that it must be Izuku's recently discovered half-sister known as Lily. I gave a slight wave to the girl and smiled. She was still hiding, but relaxed a bit. Her legs were trembling though. Can't blame the kid for being anxious. Now, don't be shy, sweetie," Hisashi said, talking to his daughter. "It's quite all right. Anyways, do you need help? You seem a little lost," I said. Laughs nervously. "Was it really that obvious?" she said, to which I just giggled and nodded before he continued. "This little one needs to use the little girl's room badly and we've been trying to find it for the past 10 minutes. He explained. "That must be why her legs were trembling, poor girl." "I see. Don't worry, I will lead you there. It's on the way to where I was heading," I said, and that followed me. While that little was in the restroom, Hisashi and I got to talking. His jokes were a bit lame, but that sorta added to them being funny. Eventually our conversation led us to discuss my destination, the kitchen. That led to me inviting him and his daughter to get some snacks and watch The Battle for Terra, or The Adventures of Sharkboy and Lavagirl. He agreed, and so did Lily when she came out. On our way to the kitchen, Hisashi and I agreed to grab some coffee sometime, just the two of us. I think I would enjoy that. He's good company and if I am honest, damn good looking too. Izumi Pav. Excitement. That is what I was feeling during the bus ride to the training camp. Me and my classmates were all happy and enthusiastic to train and get stronger over the summer. My excitement quickly turned to dread and despair after our first test. We didn't even make it to the camp till after dark. Even then I got punched in the gut by some kid named Kota after I approached him. I was at least happy when they already had dinner ready for us. That was good. Then everyone had their baths. After I finished, I ran into the pussycats who apologized for Kota's behavior. They said his mother was a hero that was killed and strangely whoever did it cleaned up the scene besides the hero's body. So no one knows who killed her. Well, not no one, apparently Kota was there hiding. He claims it was a big burly man that killed his mother. Kota passed out from shock after seeing his mother's death. Everyone believes that the boy was just hallucinating because of witnessing a horrific event. Poor kid, I hope the actual villain that did that is brought to justice. Anyways, the kid is here because he's the nephew of one of the members of the Pussycats and is staying with her. I went to where the students were staying preparing to hit the hay. Though in the middle of the night I had a pitch black dream. I couldn't see anything, but what I heard sent me chills as well as waking me up for the rest of the night. Izumi Pav. How could I let this happen? How could I let them take her? I should have been there to save her. Why do I keep losing the people I care for? I'm supposed to be a hero, right? Izuku Pav. An hour before, I stood in front of the squad I had designated for this mission. Their two goals were to cause chaos and kidnap the target. Though I made sure to give them restrictions. We might be in the middle of the woods, but they are ordered not to kill anyone not included in the mission, like campers or hikers. You all have your objectives? I asked. Yes, they said, and I motioned for them to start. Hell was about to rain down and I couldn't wait to see it. Izumi Pav. I was outside talking with Miss Aizawa. We were also with another Class B student. I believe her name was Nitai Monami. I was speaking with my teacher because of my bad grade on the written test of finals. My score was a 58. As we were chatting we heard rustling coming from the trees. Everyone prepared into a stance ready to fight when, to our surprise, an older boy came running out. He looked to be a few years older than me, with dark black hair and blue eyes. Though what had me worried was that he was clearly injured. All three of us relaxed our guard and ran up to him. As we got closer, I could see patches of stitched scarred flesh all around his body. Blood was seeping through his stitches. I could not help but feel like I had met this guy before. Aizawa knelt down to tend to him. "Are you all right?" I asked. "How did this happen? Who did this to you?" "Aizawa, hurry up and answer, we don't have all day," Monami said as Aizawa and I both shot her a glare. "Who did this to me?" he asked us, though it didn't sound like an actual question. He brought his hand up and he spoke next. "Disgusting heroes like you," he said as blue flames shot out of his hand. Aizawa and I were lucky enough to react in time, but Monami did not get so lucky. I watched as her body was burnt to ash in a matter of moments. Not only that, but how could he have a quirk? He was clearly a guy, so it made no sense. While I was thinking, he brought his hand up and prepared to send fire again, but seemed unable to. Looks like Aizawa managed to erase his power in time. Suddenly he was also wrapped in plastic and sent crashing to a wall with Aizawa pinning him. She started questioning him and tightening his binds, but all he did was laugh. Suddenly his body started tearing apart and all that was left was a mud-like substance. Though he did say one last thing before he disintegrated. He seemed to stare at me as he said it. "Prepare, because your sins are coming back." Toga Pav. We had our orders and I was prepared to follow them, but I was secretly hoping to find Izu's biological sister first. I wanted to give that bitch a good cutting. It was sad though, as we aren't allowed to kill her. She may not be the target, but Izu wants her alive for the time being. From what I heard with our communicators, Mustard has already knocked most of Class B out and is currently fighting 2 more of them. As I was running through the trees I saw 2 students running. From the description Mina gave us, these 2 are Uraraka and Tsuyu. I jumped down and instantly slashed at Uraraka. I aimed for her fingers, but failed as she was suddenly wrapped in a tongue and pulled away. I tried to switch directory and slice the tongue through, but I only managed to leave a thin cut. They watched as I brought my blade up to my mouth and licked the blood. "Absolutely delicious. Who are you?" they asked, looking slightly terrified at me licking the blood. "Name's Himiko Toga. Let's be friends," I said as I ran at them again with a crazed look in my eyes. "I have already tasted their blood and I want more." Spinner Pav, with Magna. Mangan and I were tasked with keeping the heroes, known as the Wild Pussycats, busy. What was originally 2-on-4 turned into a 2-on-2 fight. We gave the blonde one a nasty head injury, but before we could finish her the others started to guard her. Then the one with green hair managed to get past us so she could help the hero students. I'll give them some credit though, they got over us males having quirks rather quickly. That's a pro for you, I guess. There was a student with them with red hair, but left as soon as she was ordered. During our fight a student came running up and I had to block a punch with my swords. Once I got a look, I realized who it was. The girl our boss said was the first to push him down his path. His own sister. The hero known as Mandalay spoke. "What are you doing here? Run now," she ordered. "I can't just leave you to fight these villains when one of your own is injured." Izumi spoke. "We will be fine, there are others in this forest that you need to help. Go find them," the other hero known as Tiger demanded. Izumi's face contorted into distraught as she clearly did not want to leave them, but suddenly her face went pale and she said something I could barely hear before running off. It didn't matter as it would have been a hindrance fighting her without trying to kill her, but I believe she said, "Kota." Dabi Pav, with twice. This was a pain. Simple as that. Of course I had to get paired up against a justice-crazy maniac, who apparently can turn her body parts into weapons. At one point one of my clones managed to get behind her but she bent over and machine guns came out of her rear completely obliterating my clone. I have managed to get a few burns on her, but she still has that creepy smile on her face. Her face is going to give me nightmares. "I love it," Twice said. "Just focus on making more clones, please. I already have burnt patches all over my body, I do not need bullet holes to match them." I said, Aye, Captain. You are not my boss." Twice said, contradicting himself, but nevertheless still made the clones. I sighed as I heard the girl yelling about justice, and I hoped Mr. Compress would finish this task so we could leave. This mission was mainly used to obtain the target, but also to scare and humiliate the UA school. Killing was not necessarily an objective. Third Pav, with Momo. Momo was currently fighting against a Nomu creature with a couple of students from Class B. The battle was hard as they could not do much of any harm to the Nomu. Near the end, they thought they were going to die. Surprisingly though, the Nomu stopped attacking them and turned to leave. With some quick thinking, Momo made a tracking device and had a student from Class B use her quirk to wield the tracking device to the Nomu. Third POV, with Katsuki, Shoka, Kirishima, and Hitosha. These three were currently fighting Moonfish and having a hard time. The only tactic that even came close to working was Hitosha antagonizing him, with Kirishima acting as a shield. Shoka would provide long-range support with her ice. Katsuki would sneak up to deliver close-range attacks. Well, she was supposed to sneak, but ended up yelling and had to have Shoka protect her with ice. They were having trouble because Moonfish's teeth were near indestructible. Hitosha may be able to gain his focus with her taunts, but he is not answering her questions. Shoka's ice barely managed to slow him or his teeth down. Kirishima's quirk was starting to wear as she had been using it for an excessive amount of time. Katsuki kept at it without acknowledging that she was doing no damage. Eventually they decided to back up and hopefully formulate a plan. At least Shoka, Kirishima, and Hitosha did. Hitosha had to hypnotize Katsuki to get her to listen and retreat with them. They managed to get some distance, but knew it wouldn't provide them much time. Once Hitosha released Katsuki, she was met with a punch to the face. "Do that to me again, bitch, and I will make sure to send an explosion up your ass," she yelled, and Hitosha just glared before replying. "If I didn't, you would have gotten yourself and maybe us killed as well," she yelled. "Stop fighting. Both of you need to work together in order to beat him," Kirishima said. "How the hell does a man have a quirk anyway?" Katsuki asks. "Now is not the time for questions, we need to think of a plan," Kirishima said. "You all should just listen to me. It is your best chance at survie." Shoka was cut off as Kirishima rushed forward and pushed her out of the way as teeth slammed into Kirishima's body and she was sent flying to a tree, unconscious. Suddenly Hitosha wrapped both herself and Katsuki in her capture weapon as something similar happened to them. They were hit hard, but looked to remain conscious. Then Shoka looked up at Moonfish, his teeth bared and this maniacal grin on his face. Shoka knew she would be able to summon her ice in time before the teeth pierced her body. As she waiting her demise, Moonfish's head suddenly jerked upwards as he fell down. His lower lip was cut to shreds as it looked like some invisible force launched his jaw up. He was on the ground in pain as blood spewed out of his mouth. It was not over yet as suddenly a foot indent was on his face and Shoka heard a crash. His nose was clearly broken and he had been knocked out. Luckily not dead as his chest was still rising up and down. Then his body was flipped on his stomach to make sure he did not choke on his own blood. At this point Shoka already knew who had saved her. She was saved by Toru. "Your teeth may be tough, but you have got a jaw like glass," Toru explained. Suddenly Shoka was yanked up as Toru continued, "Now what was that about me being weak?" she asked. Quote. Shoka did not reply and just looked away ashamed. No one noticed the shadow of a figure closing in behind the two as his fingers reached to touch one of them. Izuku POV. Things were going smoothly so far. I even ran into a hero with an interesting quirk. I snatched her up quickly and had Kurogiri send the hero to AFO. The target should be captured and secured soon and the mission would be over. I would like to get out of this costume, but I can't risk anyone seeing me yet. There was one thing bugging me though. Where was Muscular? Everyone had been doing their jobs. He was supposed to destroy the camp and then meet up with Spinner and Magna to help deal with the heroes. I decided to find him to see what he was up to. Admittedly, I was slightly hoping he would give me a reason to kill him. Imagine my surprise when I see him about to kill a kid no older than 5. "Stop," I commanded as he turned to look at me. "Oh, hey," he said looking bored. "What do you think you are doing?" I asked, leaking off killing intent. "Me, just gonna teach this brat a lesson." "Well, actually I was just gonna kill the little shithead." I focused solely on the kid for a second and realized he was the son of one of the heroes that Muscular killed. "We are not in the business of killing children. Return to the mission or I will dispose of you," I ordered. I honestly just wanted to kill him, but what kind of leader would I be if I did not offer a chance? "No," he said. "No," I repeated to him. "No." I don't think I will. How about I kill you instead then kill the boy? Honestly now that I have my power it should be too hard. He said with a sinister smile. Sigh very well. I said. Oh, so, you're going to let me kill the kid? He said as the mentioned kid somehow got much paler than before. No, I mean very well, let's get this fight started. I have wanted to dispose of you for a while now anyway, but you cannot say I didn't give you a chance. I said. Muscular growled as he began to launch himself and prepared to attack with his fist. Strength. That's all. Physical strength is all he currently has that is better than me. Sadly for him that won't be enough. Even with that, with the rate I am progressing I won't take long for me to surpass his strength. Anyways, I have agility, energy, mind, and most importantly drive that far surpasses his. I dodged his fist and ducked, aiming a punch right into his face not protected by muscle. He was pushed by several meters. I could have hit hard, but I wanted to get close to him. My punch worked as intended though as to make him lose concentration. Due to his loss in concentration, the muscles around his joints became weak and I took the time to quickly deliver crushing blows to his elbows and knew completely pulverizing them. He was now writhing in pain on the ground as his limbs became useless. Why you bastard? How dare why? He cut himself off as he looked into my eyes through the eye holes in my mask. What he was coldness that sent chills through his bones, or what was left of them. He saw me prepared to finish this. He saw he was about to die. Wait, please. I will listen from now on. I'm sorry. I am begging you. He could not finish his sentences suddenly my hand was around his throat. I lifted up his useless body and started directly into his terrified eyes. He was gurgling as I tightened my grip. Finally I felt it was time to end this. Using my strength, I crushed his neck as he went still with his eyes nearly popped out of his head, still with a terrified expression. I turned to look at the boy. Suddenly I smelled something. The boy had apparently pissed himself. I could not really blame him though as I am sure most kids would probably react similarly. I decided to not point out the fact that he wet himself. I did truly feel sorry for the boy though as I can accept that I am partially at fault for the loss of his mother. So making a quick decision I decided to walk up to him. He flinched as I placed my hand on him. I unlocked his quirk. He probably won't realize it till later. I know very well that this won't make up for the loss of his mother, but it is the best I can and will offer. I refuse to hinder my mission to make up for unintentional action. It doesn't much matter anymore as after this night the world will know that men do have quirks now. Let him go. Someone ordered from behind me. I turned my head and saw Izumi. I had no intention of harming him. In fact I just saved him. I said, making sure to keep my composure. Save him? She asked, still keeping her guard up. Yes, save him. I assume you came here to do the same thing. Sadly if I had not arrived when I did he would have been killed long before you arrived. I clarified and pointed at the body of Muscular. That man was going to kill him. She asks, can she really be that dense? Yes, coincidentally that very same man was the one who killed his mother. I said as Izumi's eyes widened in both shock and realization. She suddenly whispered something, but I could still hear her. He was telling the truth. She whispered. I also happened to get good news in my earpiece as she whispered this. Anyways, I will be off now. I said, you really think I will just let you leave? She asked, bringing herself back together. Well, you really have no choice. As a hero you should prioritize getting this kid to safety. Wasting time fighting me could leave this child at risk. I clarified as she clearly did not know anything about being a true hero. But she messed up her wording. She clearly could not find a defense against my claim. I shall take my leave now. I said as a portal opened for me to go through. Wait, she called and I turned towards her once more getting impatient as fury rose up into me. What? I asked. Why did you save Kota? She asked. Kota. That must be the boys' names. I am a person that likes to focus on their goals and will do many things to accomplish them. I do, however, have morals. The boy's death would serve no purpose to me nor does killing a child sit right with me morally. If anything, saving the boy gave me a reason to get rid of an insubordinate buffoon. You Miss Izumi Yagi, daughter of All Might, should stop looking at heroes and villains in black and white. I said before turning and entering the portal. Toga Pav. They had managed to cut the girls quite a bit when I got the callback order. I had to wait for her though. I noticed her a few minutes ago awaiting a signal. Once I gave it, I sprung into action and threw 2 knives at both of them. Using the time they were distracted, I rushed forward to bring my knife to the brunette's neck. Before it could hit though, my knife in hand was covered in aced. I acted surprised, when in fact it was all a part of the plan. Mina needed some good insurance so as to not be suspected by the UA staff, and what better way than to have her save the life of one of her classmates. Not only will this solidify the trust they have for her, but this could also light up the load of bullying she still suffers while still acting as a spy. A brilliant plan thought up by Izuku. Once she jumped out into the clearing, I took my leave with an act of surprise and irritability. Izuku Pav. Once I was through the portal and back at the base, I instructed everyone else to return. Mr. Compress was the first to return, obviously, as his objective was of most importance. He looked at me and I could tell he was smiling behind his mask. Bringing up a blue marble in front of him, I could not help but grin. Shoka Todoroki has been obtained. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Now we will see you in the next video.